Hello and welcome to the Nash Tackle Off the Hook podcast. Just to make you aware, this podcast may contain some explicit/offensive language, and if that's not your thing, you don't have to listen, but I have given you a warning. I hope you enjoy the rest of the show.
You don't know the half of it, but anyway. I'm skating on the thinnest ice known to man.
He said, and they put a poison in the tank that just instantly kills them. He went and we've run out of it, so we cut their heads off with shovels.
Suddenly, bang! The whole boat exploded.
Take your sort of 8-inch long piranha and imagine that at 4, 5, maybe 6 feet.
I said, I've revived your dead fish. F off, he said. You haven't.
That was just humongous. It was... I couldn't believe what I was looking at.
I'm just battling this fish out in the pond. I know it's a black man. I'm saying I'll never be a naughty boy again.
If you catch fish and you return them to the water, then you are my brother.
Hello and welcome to the Nash Tackle Off the Hook podcast. Today's guest, the First Lady of the Nash Tackle Off the Hook podcast. None other, Carp Talk legend, all-round diamond, Bev Clifford. Welcome. How are you, Bev?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I am good. You're good because you just had a double mince pie hit there, haven't you, of sugar?
I've not had two, have I? You brought two into the podcast,
right? And
I've just eaten one.
Okay. We'll clarify that. I will take away the fact that she's at two. She's definitely at one, though. Yeah. Good mince pie? Too early for them?
Yeah. No, never too early for a mince pie, is it? They should be sold all year round. Co-op, short crust mince pies. It was a good start to the mince pie journey for 2021.
Made in Yorkshire.
Apparently so. We need to verify that.
Co-op, please.
Anybody know?
They should sponsor the podcast now, shouldn't they? Co-op. Can you imagine if they could?
Yeah, do we not need to mention some other brands?
Think Food. We'll get Scott Lloyd's in. He can close it, can't we? Get some Biscoff waffles or something.
Oh, they're good. They are good. The Nutella ones are good as well.
I'm yet to taste them, but it'll happen one day.
Yeah.
Anyway, fishing-wise, have you done much? Have you been out or not?
I was out, not last week, the week before. Went to the Birdhouse Fishery in Shropshire. Oh. Didn't catch anything. Nobody caught anything.
Nice place though, yeah?
Beautiful place, beautiful. Middle of nowhere, can't hear any traffic, just wildlife. They've put some really nice amenities on there, so if anybody's wanting to, I think there's 5 or 6 swims. So yeah, it's like a nice place for a little group booking.
Lovely. Fishing wise, is it classic Shropshire sort of salt?
Shropshire mere, nice.
Silty mere?
Yeah. Nice. I think when the fish are feeding, I don't think it's too difficult, but like those things are moody, aren't they? Small waters always are moody, aren't they? Moody.
Yeah, fair play. Well, we've planned, because we're always planned here.
Yeah, organised people.
I think it's going to be a pretty epic podcast. We've got a lot to talk about. We are going to touch and talk about women in fishing, because I think it's massively important, and I'm glad that finally, episode 50 odd, whatever this will be, we've got a woman on. So thank you for coming in. I think it is 50. That's poor, isn't it?
I think I've maybe listened to 35. Do I win an award for that?
35 of these?
Yeah, probably. Oh, do I win an award?
You might be the only views on some of them. So.
Do I get a badge?
Yeah, you get another mince pie. Well done.
Yes.
They're from Yorkshire. So we're going to talk through various aspects, but where I wanted to start, we have to start, is the absolute founding cornerstone, especially of like my generation, carp fishing. That's got to be Carp Talk.
Yeah.
Talk me through how a young Bev Clifford found herself involved in working in a dad's business.
Well, I mean, sometimes I question my life choices.
Read into that what you want.
Yeah, it was I was born in 1984. Carp Talk started in 1994, and it was run from offices in the home garden. So from being 10 years old, and because my dad was so busy, he wasn't in the house much, didn't see him much, because he was grafting, setting it up, you know. It was media's a big job, you know, content creation. They were busy, so he wasn't there much. So we'd pop into the office to see him. So it was always being in that office environment from 10 years old, and you know, you'd see sort of just the hustle and bustle. You don't really grasp it at 10, do you? But then as the years went on and you're asked to make decisions at school about what you want to be and things like that, I'd had all sorts of ideas. I remember thinking I wanted to be a rally car driver. And then I remember, pretty cool though, be a cool job,
maybe,
yeah. I remember thinking that for a while, and then I always remember when it came to the thing at school where you had to put what you wanted to be, didn't you? And I was like, beautician.
Out of nowhere.
Just were you pressured at you? Who knows what they want to be at like 15?
Your default was beautician.
Well, I just hadn't even thought about it, had I?
Yeah, fair.
And I came home and I said to my mum, and she went, you do realise you're not just treating, lovely, pretty people, that you have to wax fat people and things like that. Yeah, maybe not. What?
You have to wax fat people. Your mum is savage, though. What
she is?
Tell the people what your mum said about you.
Said to me, "You're really pretty until you open your mouth."
Oh, brutal. Mrs. Clifford. Brutal.
She's always kept me in check.
Yeah, she sounds like she has, to be fair. So you've put down beautician. You are panicked at this stage.
Really, sixth form wasn't really an option because I wasn't really bad at school, but I wasn't the best behaved person at school. I didn't like the way they taught at school. It was very, Mr., Mrs., stay in your lane, you can't speak up for yourself and things like that. And my dad had always said, be outspoken, stand up for yourself, don't take any shit, whatever. So college was a viable option, and I sort of knew that business would be the thing that I wanted to do. So did a business course at college, and in that time I always sort of, even before that, I'd always wanted to earn pocket money, and pocket money was never just given. We had to work for it, whether it was painting the offices or doing, various jobs around the house or in the garden. And then obviously as we got the business, there'd always be things to do, and people were, and some people know that this is how things were printed, but you used to get massive sheets of film, and there was sort of the output onto like clear film, and then it was black and white, and if something was colour, then there was four layers of this film, and if it was black and white, there was 2. And obviously it was a massive expense to produce that. So when somebody was having an advert in the magazine and it was repeated, we would save the advert, strip it off, and then it would go in the next week's magazine. So one of the first jobs that I did was used to get these massive sheets of films, pull them all out, take off all the adverts that were repeat adverts, and they'd get filed in an advert folder for these advertisers. So, that was one of my first jobs. And I was a really organised kid. My mum used to joke that, you'll be a secretary or you'll be something like that, because everything was always filed and organised, and just an organised person. So that was one of the first jobs. So I'd still always been working in the business. Went to college, and I think we did, I can't remember if it was like 3.5 or 4 and a bit days. So I had like a few hours here and there in between, when I needed to be in college. So I'd work in the office, started learning the accounts from the woman that was there. And then the year that I think it would be the year I finished school before I went to college, I worked through the summer holidays a few days a week. Working in the accounts department, and my first job was chasing bad debtors. Worst job
What
ever.
A job that
What
is.
a job. What job? Who wants to do that?
Your dad has put you up to that, or have you chosen that?
No, that's my dad.
Brilliant.
Brilliant. One of the worst things was, I must have been second or third time I'd been in doing it, and some people will remember Tony's tackle, Tony Kirridge, great character. Not the best payer. Not that, there was a lot of not great payers. Been on the phone with him chasing this money in. Anyway, it got to an argument, and he basically just turned around and said, I tell you what, cancel all my advertising. And I remember going through to my dad being like, Dad, I think I've just lost Tony's tackle.
What did your dad say?
Oh, it's fine.
Is he all right?
Yeah. And it all got smoothed out. And to be fair to Tony, he came and apologised to me at the show.
Did he? Fair play.
So which, proper gen, threw his toys out of his pram, all got sorted and apology was given. So yeah, that was sort of started working a few days, learning the ropes, learning different parts of the business. Did my business qualification at college, and then thought, go to university. Again, do business, and then it was sort of business marketing and public relations, because I've always enjoyed the marketing side of things.
Yeah.
I got a 1.5 years through it, and I just felt like I'm not learning anything that is relevant to what I want to do in the business. I knew by this point I wanted to work in the family business. That's what I wanted to do. wanted to work with I don't know why I wanted to work with my dad, because we have some right barneys back in the day.
That was my question, is why? That's like a conscious decision to work in the business, but why? Because
yeah, I don't know if there even was a conscious why. You're still quite young at that age, aren't you?
Yeah, I suppose.
But I enjoyed the business side of things. I've always enjoyed, obviously, as I was learning about it, and you're learning about different areas of business, I enjoyed the overall coming togetherness of it, how it all works, how all, they're all like little, cogs, aren't they, and they all come together to, get a job done, essentially, whatever a business is. It's like Nash, there's so many different cogs to it, but it all comes together to get, to be Nash, and just found it interesting. So yeah, halfway through my degree, I'd done a year, and I was sort of thinking in my head, this isn't right, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I went to my dad another partway through the second year and said, Dad, I'm really not enjoying it. And he said, if you're not enjoying it, don't do it. Life's too short to spend, that amount of time and doing something that you're really not enjoying. If you don't see the value in it, don't waste your time. Get stuck in at the business and you'll learn more.
Fair play to your dad.
I did. That year and a half that I could have spent finishing a degree. And don't get me wrong, sometimes I look back and I think, maybe I should have just stuck it out, got it done for, but what is it? It's a tick on a bit of paper, isn't it? And what I learned in that year and a half in the Carp Talk office is probably a lot more better life skills that have got me through stuff.
Survival skills.
Essentially survival skills, yeah.
It's true though, it's a piece of paper. I think I've got a sport and exercise science degree, I can honestly say.
Is it helping you now?
It's definitely not helping me, especially on that run yesterday. It's not helping me one bit.
Digging back into year 2 when we did that module on...
Yeah, gone. So it is, yeah. I think that's a fair comment from your dad as well, to sort of say, if that's something you want to do, get stuck in and learn from the ground up.
Yeah. And I know when I've employed people over the years, you're not looking at what degree they've got or what they did at college. You're looking at what work skills they've got and what they're like as a person and how they come in and, they sat there on the interview. And these days, first thing you do is go on Facebook and look them up, don't you? And stalk their Facebook page.
No, Robin. Yeah.
But you do, it's commonplace.
Yeah.
It's part and parcel of it now. So, left partway through my degree, and that was it. Just got stuck in the business.
What was it like working in a business? Twofold here. Your dad, absolute legend.
Legend.
Ridiculous. In terms of carp fishing standings, responsible for stocking a lot of lakes, groundbreaking, pioneer, all those words. Kev Clifford is that man. You've got to work with him. He obviously has got that sort of status. You've also got to work in a business that he's created. Do you feel added pressure there? Do you feel like, I'd think, oh my God, I'm in the shadow of my dad here and it's my dad's business. This is like catch-22, you lose or you lose. Do you know what I mean?
I think, obviously, I didn't at that time understand his significance in the industry and what he was essentially creating, what Carp Talk was, and, like Tim coming to the office and Borley coming to the office, it didn't mean anything to me because I didn't know the industry. He was my dad. And I was young, full of confidence, and at the time, for the first few years, you just head down, get stuck in, learn, like learning how the business operates and stuff like that. But then after, a few years, you start thinking, well, we could make changes here. We could do this. We could do that. And my dad is probably one of the most stubborn people you could ever meet. And like a lot of people of his generation, they don't like change. But he's quite good at change. But if you challenge my dad, his instant reaction is just to challenge you back, even if you're right. Because in his words, he loves a debate. You ask him and he'll love a debate. And he will, Cray, I wasn't there at this time, but it's one of Cray's stories. And Cray did fisheries science at uni. And him and my dad were having an argument about something in the office, and it was quite heated. Cray's quite fiery and my dad's quite fiery.
That's
two very fiery characters. So it's getting quite heated. You're wrong, sort of going in at each other. And my dad's like, you're wrong, Crow, you're wrong. I'll go get it, I'll prove it. So my dad toddles off back to the house because the office is in the gardens. My dad toddles off back to the house, comes back with this book and stands there with this book and reads what would make him right in the argument out to Crowy. And Crow's like, you're wrong, Kev. It doesn't say that. Tries grappling the book off him. And And my dad's like, no, because Cray knows what he is saying is right and what my dad is reading out of the book is wrong. And my dad's literally stood there with a book making it up to make himself look right.
He's made it up?
Yeah.
I thought,
Cray was right all the time, but my dad said pretending that the book is winning the argument for him.
You imagine like Google quiz night at the old Carp Talk office. It'd be a punch up, wouldn't it?
It's quite competitive. My dad is really competitive. So it's my brother. The office was bad. There was,
Yeah?
All
the time?
Yeah, just competitiveness and just, you're wrong, I'm right, you're wrong, I'm right, no, I'm right, no, you're wrong, no, I'm right. It was, and nobody, if they were right, could say, oh, sorry, I was wrong.
Yeah, there's not that big a person there, is there?
Men struggle with that though, don't they?
Yeah, it's hard to admit when you're wrong.
It's not. It's just
to
like,
argue, isn't it?
No, just sorry, I was wrong. Yeah, fair play.
I feel like if you say it with enough conviction, like it's true. No, fair play. But from that point, like you're a couple of years in.
Yeah.
You're grounded in that business. I'm guessing at the time, what was the setup like? There's obviously your dad,
oh God,
an accounts department.
So, I mean, back in the peak time, I think there was about 15 of us. And after a few years, it was like my dad was trying to step away, and it was obvious that I was going to run the business. So he was trying to sort of get me managing the guys and taking over certain roles. We bought Chris out of the business, Borley, because he was one of the directors. So yeah, there was, a lady in accounts. I took over sales from Chris when he left. I was handling marketing, things like that. And then a lot of the guys were editorial and design, because that's the bulk of any media business. So yeah, I think there's about 15 of us back in the peak, which it was a busy office. It was, hustle and bustle.
Especially weekly like that.
Yeah, but we had it down to a fine art. Like, fair play to everybody that worked at Carp Talk over the years. We were like a finely tuned machine. It was,
You have to be though, wouldn't
you have to be, yeah. If you miss that deadline to get that magazine on the press, it's not like a monthly where, you've got you can pull half a day back here or you can get a day back there. That's it. It had to be approved by that time. And
and essentially,
problems.
Like Carp Talk was today's Insta feed or today's Facebook. Like that is where you found out what was caught, when, where it was caught from.
Yeah,
so many times
with no sponsored adverts for IMAC or whatever.
Nothing wrong. Been going through some slightly dubious Facebook searches, but that was essentially like the grapevine for carp fishing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And everything before that was monthly. This was the first weekly. A load of pressure to get it churned out. In terms of how it works as a system, I know, like I've wrote in with catch stuff to Carp Talk, and it was put on to piece that together. You said you had it down to a fine art. Winter time, not a lot of captures, things like that. Yeah. There must have been people, especially when the industry sort of boomed in terms of bait deals, in terms of you got money and prize money for winning specific awards. There must have been people chancing their arm, sending dummy pictures in. Oh, we
used to get it all the time, and people must. I mean, I don't know what people think. Like, don't get me wrong, there was the odd one that slipped through the net, and there's always going to be, but people sending catch reports in that had been in before. It's like, well, people, Crowe can recognise, Crowe's photographic memory for fish is pretty damn good. Paddy that worked in the office, he was pretty damn good. People don't realise that things are time stamped. We know how to look at them. We're not stupid. We're working with computers every single day. We know how to check when the picture was taken. Even people, I mean, I won't name this person, but he did come back and apologise. And this was to do with winning money for competitions, had changed his T-shirt.
Oh, good angling.
Not changed the fish. Changed the T-shirt, to try and have another capture to go towards the prize. And there's all sorts that's gone in the past. Photoshopping. Like, if you're going to Photoshop something, get somebody good to do it and don't get them to leave somebody else's hand on it or, just put extra fingers on it.
You should have like a collection that you put out. Do you know what I mean? These didn't quite make it.
Didn't quite make it, yeah. I think at one point back before everybody turned into sensitive Sallys, we did sort of used to call people out, but then everybody got really sensitive, didn't they? And it's like, oh, you're calling me out. It's like, well, you sent it in, dickhead. What
was it like just generally dealing in that environment with you sort of, I I'm not. If it's anything like the industry as it is now, that there might be a hierarchy, but you don't really see that hierarchy when you're working within it.
Yeah.
What was it like taking the mantle from your dad and having the responsibility of that all working at the same time? Difficult, easy?
Do you know what? Looking back, it probably was quite hard. It was extremely male dominated. There wasn't women working in tackle shops. There wasn't women working really in the industry. There was Pip and Jemima at Angling Publications, who over the years have been, we've worked together, and they were also, people I could vent to and things like that. But I remember having conversations, with people that were advertising and things like that. I remember one bloke turning around to me, having a heated debate because he owed me money. And he was like, "What do you know? You're a woman."
Is that what he said?
Well, I'll tell you what I fucking know is that you owe me money and you will pay me.
Yeah.
It's like...
Jeez, what about her? Where'd you go with that?
Well, what did he say? I think my answer was perfectly adequate. Well, I'll tell you what I do know is you owe me that money and you will pay me.
Do you think that it worked in your advantage in some aspects being a female in that environment?
Yeah, don't get me wrong. There's the whole fluttering the eyelashes thing and that. But I think if you took that away, it was hard. It was tough.
Yeah.
Like it made me. I remember. I can't remember if my mum or dad turned around, "You're hard-faced." Well, I've had to be, because I was managing men that were older than me, so you've got to become a little bit hard-faced. As a business manager and a business owner, you've got to be a little bit hard-faced because you can't be, crying in the corner every 5 minutes or bringing your emotions and stuff. And it was really, really male-dominated. And now, yes, I think the industry is so accepting of women coming into it. It's absolutely wonderful to see. And I know in other areas of angling and other, sort of the course fishing world and the match fishing world, they aren't so welcoming in yet. And I think we've really made some massive forward progress. But 15 years ago, a woman trying to cut it in a man's world, it was hard, And
yeah, that is even like... Even in terms of anglers, I can't think of Joe Green.
There was Mary Crouch.
Yes,
some of the old people remember Mary. There was the Carp girls, Elaine and Debbie, and there was a handful of other women, and that literally was it.
Yeah.
We'd have a handful of catch reports throughout the year from different names, and some of those were just women that were going on holiday to France with their fella for the week, and they've had a good trip.
Yeah.
There wasn't women out there paving their own way and actually doing it off their own back, or having a go on their own like there is now.
Yeah.
Even that, just being in an industry that was just so heavily male dominated was, it was interesting.
I bet it was. Your work relationship over the years of Carp Talk with Crowie. Talk to me about Crowie.
Oh, Crowie, it's just, he's like a big brother. Like, and do you know what they say? When we had to shut Carp Talk, not, knowing that, not going to have that relationship with Crowie, the laughs that we had, just some of the stuff that's gone in the office over the years. Crowie spent time, when I was getting into fishing, going fishing with him. He's just a source of knowledge as well as, a genuinely good bloke. And somebody that, I hope, we're not as close anymore, but I hope if shit ever hit the fan, I could be like, Crowie, I need your help.
Crowie, I need you to run 2 marathons back to back. I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
He'd do it, mate. He's a top boy, isn't he?
He is a top boy.
Over the time that you were there, Carp Talk, sort of as it was going through, getting more and more popular, and then things changed with regards to media. Talk me through the changes that you saw and how the change affected Carp Talk.
So I think obviously there was things that would affect the business side of things. Paper price increase was a massive one. That people think that the internet has killed printed media, but yes, it's damaged it. But the other massive factor is the price of paper and printing on paper. But that, people don't see that because that's just, an internal business part. But yeah, so the internet came along, and at first that made Carp Talk a lot easier because people could send the catch reports online. So we were sending catch reports back, via the post, and news could get to us quicker. So, I remember the first computer we had in the office with internet was just like one computer, and it was in the back, and that was the only computer with the internet. It's madness when you think of that now.
Dial-up as well.
Oh, yeah,
Dial-up.
yeah, because it was dial-up because it was just like one computer.
Not
Now
the phone, Crowe. Get off.
we had multiple lines.
Did you?
Yeah.
In Yorkshire?
Yeah, in Yorkshire. I think my dad took them in.
I bet he did. Go on, Dad.
And it was in a back room on its own, and that was the only one that had internet and emails on it. Like, it's just mental when you think about it now, isn't it? And it wasn't even that long ago.
Makes me feel so old, Dad.
Well, it does, because I realised the other day it was 21 years ago since I left school.
Yeah, it's not right.
Not cool, is it? So at first, it made, in terms of a news outlet magazine, it made things so much quicker for us. We could really sort of like capitalise on, the World Wide Web essentially. And then obviously, the magazine boomed and things like that. The industry started to get bigger. I remember one time, I could have filled the magazine twice over with advertising. There was so much advertising to be had from companies, and only having limited pages in the mag, it boomed. Then social media came along, and at first, again, it was an asset to it. It was somewhere where we could market for free. Facebook at first didn't control your reach like it does now. So we were, able to promote the magazine on it for free and get some people. And then things slowly start to change, don't they? And, social media is a business at the end of the day. They controlled businesses' reach. You didn't get to people unless you paid. And then people, just started putting the catch reports on there. It's, things got diluted. And I wouldn't say social media killed Carp Talk or the internet killed Carp Talk. It was a number of things. Running a business became more expensive. The price of, print media became expensive. A lot of advertising revenue was lost because companies didn't just have to advertise in magazines. They had to put videos onto YouTube. They have to put content onto Facebook. They have to pay, sponsor boosts on, sponsor stuff on social media. Sponsored anglers, which are valuable, they all need paying. So what a company was, their marketing budget was essentially before on shows and magazines and, other bits and bobs, has to be spread so wide now across so many different forms of media that what was once allocated to magazines is so small, if it's even existent in, some companies' case anymore. The advertising revenue is massively down. So your two things that make up any magazine is your advertising revenue and your magazine sales. And while the magazine sales of Carp Talk were still, relatively decent, the advertising revenue wasn't there, and the cost of producing the magazine was massively higher. So,
combination of factors.
Yeah, it's a massive combination of factors. And as much as people like to say it's one thing, it's never that simple in business.
No. Did you think about digitalising it? Did you think that
did?
Me and my brother worked or not?
Me and my brother had the conversation a few times. It was like around the same time as Carpology started doing a lot of digital creation. It was like we either need to massively invest and go down that route and retrain staff and sort of put a massive amount of effort into being that way, or we need to make the decision that at some point this is going to run its course and we're going to have to do something else with our lives. So we sort of made that decision. And the other thing was, yes, the certain content that people will pay for online. And a lot of people say now, why don't you just make it online? People don't pay for news online. It's as simple as that. I can't remember which the first newspaper was that went online, but I think it was the Telegraph. And they tried to charge for it. Never worked. Who's going to pay for your news online? Because it's just given for free everywhere. You can't, give something like that for free across everything, and then suddenly start charging for it. It's just not going to work.
Yeah, as you say, it'd be a whole new business model, wouldn't it?
People just find the news for free online, so it's like it's not going to work in terms of people paying for catch reports. And they all sit there and say, "Oh, well, I would have paid for it," and it's like, would you? You say that just because you miss it.
It was not. I remember the announcement. I think it was a social media post he announced it on where I saw it, thinking like, that's like a big mark in the sand in terms of like where carp fishing and media's got to.
Yeah.
I think at this time I was at Carpology and they were doing, so a lot of the stuff that the digital stuff was not even anything to do with news article based stuff. It was tackle reviews where the advertising was still coming in and it was all sort of presenter led, etc. So that shift, as you say, is completely different to news, who's caught what where. But I remember thinking that that is a massive sort of like stamp in terms of where things are.
It isn't, being a printed media outlet, and we always prided ourselves on fact checking and trying to make things as factually correct as possible. Anybody can put a post on social media. You scroll through social media now, Couch Report. You don't know whether it was this year, last year, Throwback Thursday, Way Back Wednesday, Jump Forward Friday, and they've never actually bloody caught it and they photoshopped it for a laugh. You knew what was in Carp Talk was current, and we'd fact checked it as much as we can. So, we'd recognise if fish were from the lakes that they said they were from and things like that. It was, that's part and parcel of printed media. You've got a sort of duty to do things like that.
Yeah, it's a responsibility, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a responsibility, yeah. And you can have lawsuits and stuff thrown against you, but nobody's thrown a lawsuit against somebody for, putting a dodgy picture of fish on social media, are they? It's claiming it as their own. I just feel like I've not got a clue who's having a good season, who's fishing where's fishing well, because you haven't got the time to collate it all. It's who's going through social media and knowing where's chucking up all the big fish, who's having a really good season, who's mainline's carp angler of the year, who's catching most at sticky, who's caught this, who's caught that. It's only the really big captures that you find out about.
Yeah, but they're just because like the general, there's so much of it, isn't there?
Yeah, there's
like
too
Carp
much.
Talk, how many pages are we talking about? A normal.
So it was 68 was a standard, and I think 30. There was like 36, 40 that were editorial content, news based.
So that times however many pictures and catch reports.
And we used to try and get as much in as possible because that's what people wanted.
Yeah, exactly.
People want to know where's fishing well.
But you take that number, let's say a bumper issue, I don't know how many catch reports in there, whatever, 150?
Yeah,
more?
Sometimes we'd have 150 catches in.
150 catches. If you scrolled down your feed for what? 5 minutes, you'd be like double that, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
But they're not all recent, are they?
No, that's what I mean. But you can't, there's just too much for you to sift through.
Too much, yeah.
It's mad.
Yeah. And especially, a lot of people used to buy it for the regional news. Yeah. So you're in the south, you don't really give two hoots what's going on, in Yorkshire or what's going on in Bristol, do you? You want to know what's going on in bloody, the south where you're going to go fishing or you thinking about going fishing. People want their own regional news. We can't do that on Facebook, can you? You can't sort by carp anglers in bloody Yorkshire.
No, you can't. No, you can't filter it and you can't sort it anyway, can you?
No.
For you, that moment where you made the decision with your bro had to happen. Was there any thought about not doing it? That process couldn't have been easy because of everything that had gone on, your dad's sort of legacy and all that.
Yeah, and to be fair, we probably personally stuck it out longer than we should. We were both pretty broken souls. By the end of it, it's not hard closing a business, anybody who knows that. And also, you've got staff that you've got to make redundant, people that you've got to let go, which is never nice. And I guess in a way, you bring in personal thoughts and feelings into it because it meant something to us. It's a family business. Carp Talk was something. And anybody that's run a business, it'd be like you ask, Kevin about Nash. It holds something in your heart. And to actually, finally put that last issue out, yes, it was a massive sigh of relief because it had been, a tough few years running up to it. But still also, it's like, you get sentimental about things.
Yeah, 100%.
And, it was hard. It wasn't easy.
Any plans for after straight away, or were you just going to
So we took on the publishing of CarpWorld for 2 years.
Yeah.
So when obviously that kicked off, and we were doing that. But then we'd said after that, it was like, that's it, gonna have some time off. What had I spent? 24 years or something?
Jeez.
20 odd years publishing, deadlines, constant deadlines, working to deadlines. I mean, every day you get up, there's a deadline.
There's
every day.
Deadlines, like CarpWorld, there's deadlines monthly, but a weekly printed publication deadline. I do a weekly podcast, right? Sometimes I might moan and say it's a lot in a week, but I'm not putting out a printed publication. That is burnout stuff for 20 years.
Yeah,
I'd be on a beach for about a year.
It's weird when you go. It was weird not having the responsibilities. I felt worthless. I felt like I didn't have a purpose.
Really?
Because, I'd had a purpose all that time, was to get that magazine to press.
Just institutionalised by pressure, weren't you?
I was part of a cog that if I fell off the radar, Like, don't get me wrong, everybody's replaceable, but it caused shit for my brother if I had just suddenly like flaked and was like, I'm not coming in today, dude. It'd be like, dude, those jobs need doing.
Yeah.
Like, I can't pick it all up. Again, it was weird. Like, at first I was like, what is my purpose? Like,
that's got to be hard.
Yeah. There's nobody's relying on you for wages. You know, you're not, when you've had staff for years, you sort of you feel a responsibility for those other people because, you know, you're paying their wages, which then feed their family, all just things like that. And it was like, oh, this is what it feels like to not have that burden of responsibility. What did you do? Went running in the mountains lots.
Did you?
Literally, yeah.
Is that when running came in?
Well, COVID hit. So I think we put the last issue of CarpWorld to press round about the end of the February. I think it would have gone on sale the early March, and then COVID hit, didn't it? Oh. So me and my brother had great plans for just like going off and like just kicking back and was going to do all sorts. You can go anywhere, could you? Yeah.
Yorkshire then?
Yorkshire, walking the dog around the village twice a day. You're not allowed to do that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, twice a day.
Only go out
the
once.
Second time I've seen that.
Yeah. So we ended up clearing the offices out. We had loads of like books and DVDs, and we capitalised on everybody being sat at home. Sold a lot, got rid of it all. And then we came out the back of COVID, didn't we? Sort of the back end of last year, earlier last year. And yeah, I just spent sort of a lot of the early part of this year running in the mountains.
That's mad. I sort of liken it to
figuring stuff out.
Yeah, but that's like anything. It's like I don't know, a professional footballer who's had a career playing football, and then all of a sudden football's not there. Everything you know and everything you're geared towards on a weekly basis for a footballer is playing football on a Saturday. Yeah. For you, is putting out a magazine, and it's like, and then smacking a pandemic. Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like that's difficult.
And everybody's saying, "Oh, what are you going to do?" It's like, I don't know. It's like that question at school. You know, what do you want to be? It's like
beautician.
Beautician. Yeah. I think I'm going to be a beautician.
Straight into beauty.
Probably not. Did you? I've not reverted back to that beautician idea yet either.
It might. There's still time. It might happen. Did you, throughout the course of that 20 years, when you were in the environment of sort of, it is quite intense, obviously, as we've said. When you were in there, for you, did you manage to find and strike up a balance with regards to your sort of personal life and life outside of the magazine format, or was it pretty all-encompassing?
I think at first I was young, wild, partying, so I had that social side away from the business, and because I wasn't going fishing, then it was, yes, I was working a lot of hours, but then if I wasn't working, I was wild and I was out partying. And so, yeah, that gave me that, you know, that two different lives, essentially, that stepping out of and sort of that escapism, I guess, is what a lot of it was.
Did you struggle there, finding the balance between those two? Because it's pretty full on editorial stuff, out partying.
Young, you can get away with it. Yeah. I think, you know, the burning the candle at both ends, I probably did that pretty well.
Yeah.
I think the candle was well and truly burnt out, to be fair, by the time I sort of was like, I need to stop partying. it's not very good for me. Drugs and alcohol are bad, kids. Yeah. Just leave them alone.
Don't do drugs and alcohol, kids.
Don't do drugs and alcohol. Yeah, if they say, what's your one bit of advice? Don't do drugs and alcohol. They're not good for you. Looks cool, it's not.
Well, I still manage to put out Carp Talk every week. So.
But yeah, like you say, I think you can get away with it now. You know, you let your hair down occasionally. You're like that in the corner, right, for 2 days. Oh, God, what did I
do? Yeah. But like with everything, I think that's part of the process. But when I think of Carp Talk and I think of the deadlines and the whole organisation and what it was, I don't. If you're at the sort of central cog in that, like you were, you've done well to find time to sort of fit that in. I think with those sort of roles, it tends to, like, I look at, like, for instance, Kev, I look at everyone, they're all in, mate. Like it is everything. So that balance, at least there was some balance there with regards to that.
Yeah, and I think, you know, and don't get me wrong, there was times when, you know, I was working, when certain things were changing, or, you know, I remember like setting up social media accounts and things like that, you know, figuring out Facebook when Facebook first came around. You know, I'd be sat at home like 2:00 in the morning, like working on the Facebook page and things like that because, you know, and my dad didn't believe in it, or I didn't have time to do it in, you know. One of the best arguments I had with my dad was, I remember everybody obviously used to pay by cheque. So whether it was subscriptions or advertisers paying by cheque, you know, whatever it was, and we had big mail order side of things for books and DVDs. There was probably videos back at that point. I think it just turned to DVDs.
People listening to this pod will not know what videos are.
No.
That's mad, isn't it?
VHS.
The old VHS.
And I was like, Dad, we need to get a credit card machine. No, people don't pay on credit card.
Madness.
Yeah, absolute madness. No, we're not getting one. Dad, we really need one. No. And I think in the end, I can't remember if I just like battered him down to the point where he just went, oh, fuck's sake, or I just went behind his back and got it set up. But anyway, I got my own way in the end. And it must have been within a matter of months, like 50-70% of the people were paying on card because they were. It was just the fact that my dad hadn't figured out to use a bank card because he can't remember a PIN number, which I mean, I still don't think he's figured it out yet. Like, remembering the PIN number is quite difficult for my dad. Remembering where the card is.
Contactless was the best thing ever made.
Yeah.
Don't even use my card.
yeah, just borrowing other people's. So yeah, there was all, you know, things like that, the arguments and, you know, just getting things changed. But yeah, we had some.
What was it like at the end with regards to him, like, and everything winding up?
Well, so he stepped away and left me and my brother. He wasn't even a director or anything for a good number of years and retired. That was an interesting process because he wanted to retire. He needed to retire. He'd had enough. So he retired, but he didn't want to replenish his spot in the office, sat in the hustle and bustle of it all, and move out. So what he essentially did for a few months was sit in the office, but just chat shit to people. So I would be like, Dad, can you stop talking to the staff? And he behaved like a little kid. You can't tell me what to do. It was like he reverted backwards. And it was a battle. Me and my brother had a battle to get him to an office on his own. You can't put me in the back room on my own. You're disrupting the staff. People have got work to do. It's not.
Was you just
not a coffee morning.
Just having a general chat with them?
Yeah, just about, you know, he'd come in and start talking about films that he'd watched last night, or have you seen this thing on the internet? Or,
I love that.
But we're running a really busy magazine and he's just sat there, you know.
That is brilliant.
Yeah, and so we had some right banners about that, and to the point where he was like a little kid, like, you're not putting me in a room on the back. So we slowly, a few months it took us to get him into his own office.
Brutal.
So yeah, and I can't remember how many years it was that he wasn't involved, but we used to, you know, run stuff by him. Wise old men, aren't they? You know, they've seen a lot, they've done a lot, especially like legal stuff and things like that. He's a font of knowledge for quite a lot of things. And when it came to computers, he's pretty handy with computers. So
is he?
Yeah, he can build them. He used to build the computers that we used to use.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think.
My dad's quite like one of these unsuspecting people. He's got quite a lot of like knowledge and skills that, you know.
Building computers.
He's saved us massive amounts of money over the years. Yeah. You know, it's like you have to get somebody in.
Oh, yeah.
They know how to charge, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we used to still rely on him for stuff like that. Kev, my computer's not working.
That's brilliant. What a mix of skills that is. Yeah. Just come in and fix it. In terms of like the great and good of angling, which you had heard from over the period of time running Carp Talk, any standout, significant, funny memories or meetings with people? Are you starstruck by anyone or not?
Oh, I got to meet Dean Macy.
Oh, yeah.
See, for me, like I'm not one for like famous people, like film stars, sort of pretty much lost on me. But like sports people from when I was younger, I'm like, I used to watch you on the telly when I was little.
Pin-up boy, Macy, yeah.
He wasn't really a pin-up boy, but it was just, you know.
Legend.
Just a legend, an athlete. Like, it was just, I remember him, Sally Gunnell, Jonathan Edwards, you know, watching
Colin Jackson.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, the younger generation will have no idea what we're talking about right now.
No, absolute legend.
Yeah. So I don't think I was starstruck by anybody.
Apart from Dean Macy?
Apart from Dean Macy.
He'll take that.
Yeah, I've got the picture on my phone of when I met him.
So apart from Dean Macy, no starstruck. Any funny incidents with regards to poignant anglers?
Oh, had to put John Wilson to bed drunk.
John Wilson, that's top level.
Yeah.
John Wilson to bed drunk.
He liked to drink, didn't he?
I mean, I never met John, so I don't know.
Yeah, he liked
I saw him go fishing.
Yeah.
He liked a glass or two and you had to put him to bed.
Well, yeah, he used to come and do the capping on shore. So obviously we had him there as a guest, so room booked. And he's a little bit worse for wear, which many people did at angling shows. It was pretty commonplace, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Obviously with it being our show, we had to sort of, have our wits about us. And Jemima's husband at the time, Paul, he'd had to put him to bed the previous year as well.
Legend
and the
Wilson.
Same thing happened again. And I was there to help Paul put John Wilson to bed.
Talk me through the process of putting John Wilson to bed here.
Well, just guiding him upstairs into the lift.
Come on, John.
Literally, come nice and gently. Come on, off we go.
There's a few chub up here, John.
Time for bed. Let's pop you in the lift.
Oh, brilliant.
Have you got your key for the door? No, right. Well, what we'll do is we'll pop to reception on the way and get on to get you in.
Oh, that's brilliant. 2 years. I didn't think I could have any more respect for John Wilson. It's just gone up. 2 years in a row. Brilliant. Carp Talk era. Absolutely brilliant. Loads obviously gone on. You've gone through your running phase. Talk to me about your mentality. Has always sort of stood out to me. I've known you for a fair while now. We fished together on a number of occasions. But what struck me about you is like mentally, I think I said to, I can't remember who it was when somebody was talking about you. It's escaped me, but I said like rock hard.
Rock hard.
Absolutely rock hard. Like she would batter me. Like if I, do you know what I mean? Anybody steps out of line, if you were the boss of a magazine, I'd be like, yeah, all right, like rock hard. I'm not messing with her. But your mentality with regards to your running, but also with regards to how you go about subsequent stuff, Ladies Carp Academy and all this sort of stuff that we'll talk about in due course, there's always been that sort of drive, focus and sort of graft in there. Yeah. How has that come, and has that ever sort of cost you?
Don't know where it's come from. I think Clifford trait. My brother's pretty much the same.
Is he?
Yeah, my dad's, if you're doing something, you're doing it well. You're going to make sure it gets done. I mean, I remember when we was little, my mum always used to say, I can't do that. It was like, there's no such word as can't.
Go on, my mum is like a hidden gem here, isn't she?
Yeah, and it was, even if we fell over, it was like, it doesn't hurt. Come on, get up, off you go.
Yeah.
You weren't allowed to cry. Like, there was no sort of like, like you see some parents and the kids fall over and like, oh my God, are you all right? Are you all right? Oh, don't worry.
We've got a magazine to get out, Bev.
Get up, come on. Yeah. Plasters were a rarity. Mum, I need a plaster. No, you need to get, it'll be fine. It'll stop bleeding. It'll dry. Jeez. Hobbling on.
I think I might need to go to hospital, Mum. Brilliant.
So we weren't sort of pansied to or anything like that. And it wasn't harsh love, but it wasn't, you just had to crack on and get on with it. I don't know. I think, again, having deadlines, there was no excuses. You couldn't be like, I think there was one day that I didn't go into the office because I was poorly. Like literally.
One day in 20 odd years.
Yeah. That I actually had a sick day. Don't get me wrong, I had days off, but a sick day, just
couldn't happen.
Couldn't happen. So yeah, I think that drive and that, again, it's family. Also something that I've tried to teach myself, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess it's wanting to achieve things, wanting to get things done. Don't get me wrong, there's times when your alarm goes off and it's like, I could stay in bed right now. It's like, but if I do, I'm going to, beat myself up because I stayed in bed. I'm going to be like, you said to yourself, you're doing that today. So just get up, get it fucking done. Like, just feel better for getting it done.
Oh, I look at your Instagram statuses sometimes. You're up at like 4 a.m. and gone for a run. I'm like,
just get it fucking done, man. Yeah. Just get it done.
Yeah. Get it done. But that mentality, that pushing yourself, you transferred then into sort of, we'll talk about your angling, but into running, yeah? Running's been your sort of release and fine.
Yeah, I think having, wayward party days, and I don't know whether this, goes back to sort of working in a male-dominated industry and things like that, but I struggled internally with self-confidence and things like that. So, yeah, I did party hard and take a lot of drugs and, drink a lot of alcohol. I think a lot of it's because I didn't genuinely feel confident in myself.
Yeah.
And I knew that, I needed to stop that, move away from it all, have essentially a fresh start. Obviously, my job wasn't changing or anything like that, but in terms of the way I was living that other part of my life, it had to stop. It was something bad was going to happen at some point. And I literally just, pressed the button straight down the line, right? And I remember I even quit smoking around the same time as well. And I'd wanted to start running. And it goes back to the lads doing the Paris 10 from the office, actually. As a collective, we did the Paris 10 challenge.
Right.
And all the lads signed up to it, and we raised a shitload of money through the mag. And Crowe, Hughesy, my brother, Stan, and I think Burnsy and Rivers.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, what a collective.
What an absolute...
What a collective. My brother smashed them all out of the park, obviously.
The SAS of carp fishing right there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Lads.
Not sure Stan fits into that, sorry, Stanny.
Brutal.
And I remember, obviously, I went along to support him. And I remember, I was still smoking, probably drinking heavily at the time, God knows what else. And I remember thinking, I'm going to do that. So next week I was like, will you come running with me, Mick? And he was like, my brother, and he was like, not unless you stop smoking. I was like,
oh, fair play.
Okay, then.
What, just like that?
Just like that. Because it's a challenge, isn't it? And
I can imagine that with you.
Yeah. It's like, well, can you do, he's sort of saying to me, well, it's a challenge, isn't it? Well, I'll do it, but you've got to do this. All right, then. Too
easy.
Yeah, just buy cigarettes.
And what is it about running? Just the escapism, much like fishing?
Yeah, there is that escapism. I do quite like being on my own, but also it's freedom. Yes, it's good for you. Don't get me wrong, but there's a whole host of other things that are good for you exercise-wise in there. But yeah, I enjoy it, and it's a natural thing to do. Don't get me wrong, the first few runs are fucking hard, especially when I drank all that booze over the years and smoked all those fags and just been generally wayward. It's
like a stocky cleaning out from the stock pond, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just a nightmare.
Just
give me a couple of months, lads.
You do the whole run from one lamppost to the next thing.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, you get past a certain point and you just learn that you can just keep going and going and going. And
I mean, you've been very modest there. There's running. Was it couch to 5K, couch to 10K?
Yeah.
There's that. There's, I don't know, what we got? Half marathon, maybe? Marathon. And then there's whatever you do, mate, which is you basically, for 4 days on Instagram, you're just running. Day and night, you just don't stop. It's like Forrest Gump on, acid. I don't know what's going on. It's just ridiculous. It's not even, what is it? They're ridiculous races.
Yeah, just ultras, just anything. And it's classified as anything over sort of a marathon distance or over 30 miles. But
what was the one? It's like 100 miles, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I drove back my car this morning.
Yeah.
That's mad. That's like pushing yourself isn't it?
And again, there's all sort of, people do them round a track, round and round again, or you can do them in, the middle of nowhere. I sort of prefer the ones that are, a little bit rough and ready and, dark and muddy and remote, and you can probably get lost and fall over and hurt yourself. And
is this is again that mindset of it's
push. I've got this thing of, and to be fair, I've not thought about it for a while, but I remember when I was sort of getting into it and getting into doing ultras and training properly and things like that, it was how far can I push myself before I break? And I think that's what it is. And it's the closest thing you can get is doing ultras, because you go and you're sleep deprived. You need, one of the key things is you need to keep eating, but you get to the point where you don't even want to eat, but you've got to eat, so that's hard. You're lost, it's dark, you're wet, you're cold. you don't even know, what your name is. You're hallucinating, and it's like
you're not selling this to anyone. I tell you, the old entrance for the next ultra is going to be pretty low.
But it's how far can you push yourself as a person before you break.
But then you've gone from ultras, we'll push them aside, to a weekend a few weeks ago at the SAS thing, which is another realm of pushing yourself, especially mentally. With regards to running, all right, ultramarathons are 100 miles. It's fixed. You know what's going to happen. I'm glossing over it like it's easy. It's definitely not. But you know what I'm saying? And then you've got SAS, which is like top of the tree, mentally not really knowing what's going to happen, being tested.
Yeah, it's
That's
the
whole
element
point.
of the whole it was like a weekend thing, sort of designed on the back of the TV program.
Yeah.
So 1 minute you're doing one thing and the next minute you're doing the other thing. Jump out of bed in the middle of the night and start doing fucking burpees. It's like the fitness side of it is pretty easy. It's again you've just got to be on it and be prepared, and just be.
Can you be prepared for that? They're actually trying to break you, aren't they? So
yeah.
You can't really be prepared for that.
You just think, well, I'm not going to be broken.
I tell you what,
you're not going to break me.
This is a belter. If you don't listen to anything else in this podcast, right?
If you're vegan, if
you're vegan or vegetarian, I apologise, but it's a story that's got to be shared. Bev, tell the people about first day on SAS camp, was it? Exercise
Yeah,
one?
it must have been, because I remember when me and my brother were sat in the tent later and he was like, "You've still got blood on your face, dude." I was like...
War paint. Talk to me about the chicken.
Part of it, we got this really cool talk about, I don't know, picking locks and getting yourself out of restraints, if you've been captured and stuff like that, which was really, really cool. And it's survival. You never know when you're going to be on the next, Nash social and you're going to get captured.
None of these allegations are proven fact.
I'm sure on Alan's one he says about somebody pointing a gun at him.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got
he
taught.
Went in, oh, you got
we
how to
got
deal with
taught
a gun?
how to safely remove.
Oh, Blair needs to get on the next course then.
Exactly.
A lot of training.
Everybody in carp fishing needs to get on one. It's very, very useful, especially if you're fishing ropey lakes.
Especially if you're fishing ropey lakes.
Yeah.
This is all sorts of stereotypes being...
Yeah. Anyway, so sat in this barn, having this talk, cool guy, talking about all survival and things like that. And obviously part of survival, if you did get, caught in the wild, would be finding food for the table. Didn't put two and two together that, this was a subject we're on. I think, in fact, I don't think he'd actually said that's what we were going to talk about next. I think it just went straight into... So who's here to challenge themselves and to learn something new? Well, I'm that dickhead that puts my hand up for anything, aren't I? Yeah, I'm down for anything. Right, stand up. Anybody else? I'm to some other kid, come on, let's go. And this other kid's ooh, all right then. So two of us go up and he was like, we're going to kill a chicken. First of all, you have to pick your own chicken up out the box. I'm like, fucking hell. Stroking it. I'm really, really sorry. Really, really. So I said sorry to it.
How did you select your chicken? What did you go for?
You had a piece of wood, put the chicken's head under the neck, and then break its neck,
no knife, no tools.
No. You had tools to then skin it, but apparently the best and easiest way would be to break its neck. I can tell you some more details about how much they shake and have fits afterwards.
Oh, wow.
It's quite, it's not the nicest experience, but it's
straight in there.
Well, they were battery chickens, so they didn't.
I'm doing it a favour.
Doing it a favour.
Good.
I tell you what, you wouldn't have eaten the meat that was inside of them.
Why?
Oh, it was disgusting colour. Absolutely disgusting. It makes you question, actually, we're eating this? Really? That's not nice.
Well, there we go.
So, yeah, there we go. Splattered in blood.
Chicken blood. That set the tempo for the rest of the weekend, didn't it?
Yeah, just...
Gone.
Sat in the tent later with my brother, laughing, dicking around, and he's like, dude, you've still got blood on your face.
Yeah, that's for the rest of the chickens as a warning.
Yeah.
But one thing that, and I sort of highlighted it or sort of linked to it before, was mindset, mentality, however you want to deem it. But that mentality I've seen in so many of like the best anglers, whether they come from a sporting background or they've got some sort of ability to really sort of tunnel vision, focus themselves on a goal and do whatever it requires in order to achieve that.
Yeah.
And I think as a trait to success, whatever that success is and however you measure it and whatever it is for you personally, I think that set of skills to be able to sort of push yourself beyond the realms of what's comfortable, because it's not comfortable, it is always going to breed success in terms of whatever it is you choose to do. And it's proven that because of the stuff you've done subsequently. So yeah, fair play, even if it does end in dead chickens and ultra marathons. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's not all dead chickens in my life, you know.
That's what she says now. But let's talk fishing. So now, obviously, there's Ladies Team England, there's the whole match scene. But for you, your angling in general, and I'm not talking about relatively recent times anyway, you've done a fair bit. Not just domestically here, but you've done a fair bit abroad as well. I've had some pretty
cool abroad trips. A fair bit of carp fishing. Went to Thailand a few times. Been sturgeon fishing on the Fraser River. What else have I done? Oh, I spent a lot of time on the Ebro. Love the Ebro.
Carp and Cats, yeah?
Carp and Cats, yeah. Some good times on there. Me, Pip and Jemima used to go once a year for a girls' weekend, catfishing and catfishing as well. With one of the other women that used to work for us, Babs. We had some right laughs.
Mequinenza.
We once drank Mequinenza out of sangria. I mean, that's a claim to fame.
That is a claim to fame, isn't it? Wow.
The poor guides that used to have to put up with us. We used to. It sounds really bad, actually. They go out in the dinghies and row the rod, put the rods out and stuff. We used to sit there throwing stones at them from the bank, just being unruly.
Jeez.
Obviously, very, very nice females.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very polite. Yeah. Fishing wise, enjoy the fishing on there?
Absolutely loved it.
Unbelievable,
really
those
loved
things,
it.
aren't they?
Yeah. The fight's mega, isn't it? That's the one thing, don't get me wrong, catfishing will always be my favourite type of angling, but they don't fight hard, do they? And when people give it oh my God, my arm was killing you, think, really, mate? You should maybe go down the gym a little bit more, because they're not going to pull you in now, are they?
But a cat, though, in that river.
Oh, yeah. It's, that's a battle, isn't it? It's your arms are aching. You know about it the next day if it's been a big fish. You go over to Thailand, the Mekongs and the Arapama and stuff. They're man tests. That you see men passing the rod over to people because they can't hack it.
Mekong catfish, hardest fighting fish that I've ever hooked. Ridiculous.
Yeah, I think they are classed as the hardest fighting fish, aren't they?
Off their heads.
They just go for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. They're just on steroids, aren't they?
Surely you've associated the fact that you've been hooked. If you come in,
you're going to get to go back soon.
One photo on your back.
Yeah.
But they are savages, aren't they?
I don't think they care, do they? They're just like, you're just some small human stood on the bank. Yeah. This is a game.
I'm going to terrorise you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's bad, isn't it? Cats wise, what size did you have them to on the Ebro?
I think when we were out there as a group, I think we definitely had one that was like 200 mark. I think the biggest one I had personally was about 130, 140.
Yeah.
Nice. Which was actually caught on me and my mate Jace went and fished the World Catfish Classic. Only ran for 1 year. It was organised by Ross Honey that does the World Carp Classic. It was a real good event, actually. We had a right laugh. And I think I caught it on the last day. My hazy memory serves me well. As I'm getting older, the memory's getting a little bit...
And carp-wise on the Ebro?
Oh, God. Loads, 20s. I don't think I did have...
Maybe a 30. Any mirrors?
No.
All commons, isn't they?
I had a really good trip on the Ebro. We went over one winter. Me, Hughesy, Crowe and Steve Briggs. I mean, going to fish with those three legends.
What a trip.
Yeah. That's, I sometimes I feel bad because I take things like that for granted because they were just there in my life all the time. But if you said that to the average person going, winter fishing on the Ebro with...
That is...
Those three legends.
That is some trip, isn't it?
Yeah. We had a good laugh.
I bet.
It was cold though. I've got a picture of me and Hughes, because Crowe and Briggsy went in one boat and me and Crowe went in another boat. Just the little boats just sat out on the river all day. Freezing cold. like, and I mean freezing cold. And anybody that's fishing on the Ever knows that you use halibut pellets, don't you?
Yeah.
And there's always a towel associated with a bucket of halibut pellets. Me and Yuzi were calling it the clunge bucket.
The clunge bucket?
Because it stinks, doesn't it?
Out of the in-betweeners?
I don't know where we got
That's
the name from.
horrendous.
Was the in-betweeners even out then? I don't know.
Maybe.
Maybe not. And we had this towel that was obviously covered in clunge, and there's pictures of us both laid under this clunge towel because we're that cold.
That's desperate. Oh, Jesus.
Hygiene is its finest.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a real good trip. It was hard. The fishing was hard, but yeah, we had a good laugh.
In terms of French fishing, then, so it's public waters. That looked.
Yeah,
those
that
fish
was
were
mega.
amazing.
Again, winter, November, so it's cold, wet, hard. It's so funny. Like, I'm in my element in that kind of weather. Like, just love it bimbling around. I think Jake Wildboar was with us. Jake gets tetchy after if he's not had a shower for a few days. There was some broken soles on that trip. Jake's was probably the most broken sole because it was cold, it was wet, it was a hard week. Yeah, it was a really good trip. Didn't want to leave. That sort of, it's that time of year. There was nobody else there, I don't think. Or there might have been somebody really far down the other end. Yeah, just muddy, bit cold, bit wet, big fish.
Odds are against you. Let's go.
Yeah, barbecues, a few French beers.
Nice. Very nice.
Dogs, muddy dogs.
Muddy dogs.
Yeah, anybody knows Tom that owns Sticky. He's got a dog called Blue. Blue is feral. Like,
Oh, really?
he's just wild.
He's a husky like Kaiser,
Yeah.
isn't he?
He just goes off running off on his own. He came back one night and he'd literally been gone for hours and he was piss wet through, freezing cold.
What? So he didn't have to go and find him. He just came back.
He just eventually came back. We wouldn't know where to find him. He's just gone.
So Tom was just quite happy. Lost another one in France.
I think he has a little tracker on him. He'll come back.
Brilliant. Fair play. Unbelievable. And then in terms of domestic fishing, I know that recently we talked about Boathouse very recently, but RH Waters.
So yeah, I've spent a fair bit of time on Western. I've had a few trips on Western on open access. Love Western. Beautiful place.
How'd you find the fishing on there? It can be quite weedy, can't it?
Yeah, to be fair, like that sort of old Shropshire Mere kind of little bit of weed where you just sort of like just scattering a boilage, nice and
simple fishing.
Simple. I'd like that kind of fishing. If I had to pick one kind of fishing, that would be my style of fishing. Sort of like, boiler fishing, nice little spread of boilers. So yeah, I spent a fair bit of time on there in the boathouse, had a few trips there. Done a couple of open access weeks on Acton, another beautiful fishery, middle of nowhere. There's such quiet places, middle of nowhere, beautiful, loads of trees, loads of wildlife. You've got that smell of greenery around you that I like, that it's nice. It's, feel like you're outdoors, don't you? But then, you started doing the Team England stuff and working in the industry. It's, do you want to fish here? Do you want to fish there? Going on socials, going to events, things like that. Fished on church a few times. But yeah, bit of
much success on church?
I think the first time I came, I had a really nice common. It was, I think, about 27 or something like that. Fish weights, I'm shit at fish weights. I know some people can remember them all. I literally can't. I struggle to remember. I only know my own phone number, so don't ask me to remember fish weights.
But it's not significant to you, is it?
No, it's about being there. It's like some people can remember the 10k time. I can't tell you what my 10k time was.
No.
I can't tell you, what time I ran, this, that and the other end. It's just, I'm all about enjoying the moment, enjoying the time and, living in the now as opposed to, it's happened, hasn't it? It's, I roughly know what my PBs are, but not to the ounce or anything like that. Yeah, and then I can't remember if I had a trip where we blanked as well. And then the last time was with Paul and Monkey that used to work at the office. We had an office trip and I had one, and we nicknamed it Measles because it had obviously had a little bit of stress, so it had some spots on it. We saw a picture of it afterwards, and its measles had cleared up.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, that was a nice fish. That was that 30 something.
Right. Okay. So decent.
It was nice. Yeah.
Good couple of trips. Nice. You've done a bit of time on Girton as well, haven't you?
Yeah. Not had anything decent out of Girton. I've had some stockies. But yeah, it's a mega bit of water.
It's lovely, really that,
nice.
Isn't it? They do a great job, the old AJS boys, Anthony Sylvester and the likes of.
Yeah. Would have, to be fair, sort of curved hitting it, and lots of waters like that got busy because people were furloughed and stuff like that. So,
but it's fair to say, classically, and you said it earlier there, because you've been involved in the industry associated with fishing, you end up sort of flitting from invite to invite rather than sort of having a water where you campaign.
Yeah, like I've fished, I've had a weekend on Spitfire Pool and, fished Redmire, been lucky to fish some really exclusive waters that, sometimes people have to wait a long time to get to fish. So you end up snapping things like that up and, being a busy person and having, various different hobbies and doing the Ladies Carp Academy and Carp Team England, when you actually break down how much time you've got for your own personal fishing, and then trying to maintain, friendships and a social life and people's 50ths and, spend time with your family. It's like, actually, to dedicate myself to fishing on water, I would have to strip some of that other stuff away. And, like you see with all the guys that come in here, those that are doing, time on waters, they're not making people's 21st birthdays and they're missing out on their mum's 50th and, they sacrifice a lot to do it.
Yeah.
And that's, that's part and parcel of it, isn't it? So yeah, I've never sort of sacrificed anything else to put dedicated time into a specific water. I've probably sacrificed things to do things like, Ladies Carp Academy and stuff like that, which has been rewarding.
Let's talk Carp Team England ladies.
Yes.
That's massive.
Yeah.
Like, you're captain, but the whole process of actually getting a world championships together.
Yeah.
And fishing it, France 2000, it was recent.
2019.
19, yeah. COVID last year, wasn't it? So,
COVID just stopped everything.
But 2019, France, lady, how did that all come to be and how sort of, I don't know, how much of a figurehead were you with regards to all that?
So I think it was around 2016, Miranda Brown started talking to Rob and essentially saying, why can't we have a women's team like there's a men's team? And Rob was like, well, there's not enough women to have a team for starters. There's nobody to play against. Blah, 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 blah. She was like, well, I'll sort it. I'll manage it. I'll get the women together. And then we just need to get another country to get a team together.
She's a force of nature as well, isn't she?
Yeah, she's cool.
I've done ladies' carp cups with her.
Don't mess
on the
with
back. No.
Her banter will put most men to shame.
Yeah, she's good, mate. She's ruthless. Yeah.
So she was the one that sort of initiated it with Rob. Rob said, well, if you can pull it out of the bag, I will do, all the legal side of things with the Angling Trust, getting it all ratified and things like that. And he said, I'll work on getting other nations involved. So I think he started working on the Welsh straight away, to be fair. And I remember getting a phone call off her. I think she organised like a bit of a social down at Lynch Hill, actually, on Willows Lake. Loads of us went down and there was all sorts of people. Joe Green was there, not specifically people that had done any match fishing in the past, but just, a good mix of female anglers. And I think she must have mentioned it to me then. And then I got a phone call afterwards and she was like, right, I'm putting this women's team together. Oh, you're in it. I want you to be in it. And I was like, at the time, I was like so busy, so many other things going on. I said, oh, let me think about it. I said, to be honest, I really don't know if I've got the time to commit to it. And she was like, no's not an option.
Like, sounds like her, to be fair.
Okay, then. Challenge accepted.
Yeah.
And yeah, it started from there. I think, so she was managing it. I was captain. And I think we had a team of 8 to start with, squad of 8. And then our first match was against the Welsh on Barston Lakes. And yeah, we won.
How did you find match fishing or match carp fishing?
So I'd done a bit of match fishing before, mostly with my mate Jace. We'd done a few bits in England. We'd done the one abroad. We'd done a fair few charity matches and stuff like that. So yeah, I was quite competitive, and it was always a good laugh as well. But I've always liked that competitive element. So yeah, enjoyed it. So that wasn't me. That wasn't the thing that I'd questioned about it. It was the whole like time. If you're going to do something, you want to do it well and things like that. But yeah, so that was, and I think that was. I got a feeling it was 2016. I got a feeling that was the year. Maybe it was 2017. So yeah, in those 5 years, 5 or 6 years, whatever it is, we've come a long way, because we had that first match against the Welsh. Then the following year, we had a match against the Welsh again. Then I think the year after that, we had Tri-Nations, because the Dutch had formed a team. So we put that into the calendar as well. And then the following year, we had the Worlds, because the French had formed a team and the Russians had formed a team, which was the first ever FIPS ratified Women's World Carp Angling Championships, which, again, because being in the industry, seeing it from, the ground off, and it been such a long process, sometimes you forget to take a step back and think, actually, that's a massive achievement for our sport, to have gone from not having even any women's representation to actually having an official women's team, and then a very first official Women's World Cup, is actually groundbreaking in the world of women's sport.
It's massive, yeah.
And you forget that because you're grafting towards it, and it's been a sort of not slow process, but it's been a process. You don't really take a moment to step back and be like, actually, that's pretty cool. We worked for that. And like Miranda, got disheartened. We didn't win. Obviously we went there, we wanted to win gold, and we didn't win. That was hard. It's hard, coming back with a bronze medal. You don't go for a bronze, do you? You go for a gold.
Tell us the story of that. Tell us the story of the fishing on there. The venue, where did you fish it?
What's it bleeding called? It's right in the south of France.
I should have really done better research.
Lac de Villeneuve.
Right.
Yeah, Villeneuve something. Again, like big public water. It was like a little lake, and then obviously the big one, and the little one had like peddlers on it and stuff like that, and that was majority grass carp in it.
Right.
And we knew there was grass carp in it because we'd been on and practiced, and we'd caught a couple. But the French knew that venue, and they were targeting the grass carp, and it was frightening to see how many grass carp they caught. And we didn't know that until the match, that was going to be the tactic on there. So we completely fluffed that part of it up.
How did they catch the grassies?
What did they catch? On zigs, I think.
All on zigs?
Yeah. It was frightening. The French deserved to win. They
yeah.
Can't take it away from them. They dusted us up, and they deserved that win. They far outfished us, no doubt about it. And the other sections of the lake, we did well in, but obviously the complicated point system, which I won't even try and explain, it took me about 3 years to figure it out for myself, so I'm not going to be able to explain it in a podcast in 20 minutes.
Leave that to Husey.
Leave it to Husey, yeah. And we clawed it back over the 3 days, because it's 72 hours as well. We clawed it back. We had a really shit start. We got a load of stuff wrong. And yeah, we didn't fish well from the start, but we clawed it back. And I think there was a point in it between getting silver, which again, like fight to the death, which is great for, creating TV programs, great for watching. You do get spectators on the bank. It's great for people following at home. But in terms of your nerves and like how it works out for you fishing in that situation, it's like you just sick to your stomach. It's like you're there fishing in an England shirt, and even if you take the England shirt on, anybody that's competitive, like you just want to win, don't you? And it's like
you channel that out though, or not? Did you struggle? Because on runs, I mean, I'm not professing to be any sort of runner, but any form of exercise that you do to any level, there is a point at which you are shattered and you mentally have to chuck yourself somewhere else to carry on.
Yeah,
otherwise you give up.
I think it was like 35 degrees. We were absolutely baking. You've not got any shit. People think, oh, it's nice you're going fishing for a day, or they think, oh, it's just carp fishing. It's like, it's not. There's two different types of fishing. I always say this, and it's not carp fishing. It's not carp fishing at all. It's matched carp endurance fishing. Like Ellen that I was fishing with, she was spodding, I think it was 32 wraps, one of the spots. And she was that broken that she was literally just stood there spodding, and I was reeling in, filling the spod, and she was just casting out because we needed to preserve her energy. It's like, that's not carp fishing, that's endurance sports and, you know, analysing things in a completely different way. You're mentally broken. Like when, I think, as soon as the hooter went, I think we had a beer, and I remember it just like going straight to my head and being like, I'm so dehydrated, I'm so hungry, I need some vegetables. And you're not allowed out of your box. You're literally penned into this box for 72 hours. It's like, I need to just get out of this fucking box that I'm penned into. Like, I feel like a caged animal. I'm sunburned, I'm dehydrated, I'm broken. Thankfully we did get a bronze medal, but we wanted gold. Fucked it up. Like, just get me out of this box.
Yeah, a mix of emotions there.
And then you've got all your kits packed down, and it's like,
just leave it.
Wish you could. It's not. We're not Premiership footballers. We've got to literally get it all out. Get it in the van. Get back. Get in the shower. Lick your wounds.
Yeah, but still, you've got a bronze, and you've been instrumental in actually making that happen, haven't you?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Just to see, you know, the whole event. You know, watching a parade for the first ever Women's World Carp Angling Championships. You know, I can't say it's something you dream of as a kid, because it wasn't something I dreamt of as a kid, but I get messages from, you know, guys that have got young daughters that are getting into fishing and stuff like that, and like their dream is to be in the ladies' carp team.
Yeah.
And you just think, wow, we've come somewhere with this sport. We've come somewhere with women in angling. And the fact that they've got that to look up to is, you know, that's how you get kids into sport, isn't it? By them having heroes and them having, you know, that dream of having a gold medal hung around their neck. And
I think as a sport, like so much of our sport, you look at the pandemic, we were able to carry on, a lot of sports didn't. But to sort of elevate the sport as a status, you look at like golf, you look at everything else. The women's side of football, the women's side of golf, it's really, really taken off. It's massive. And for fishing, now that it's done, to have that sort of asset, that's just another string to its bow. It strengthens its position as an actual standout
as an actual sport, and as something that, you know, people can gravitate to. You know, people can go participate in safely with family, with friends. You know, with the added benefit of, you know, it's an outdoor sport. You're in nature. It's teaching kids about, you know, butterflies and, you know, bees and. You know, there's deer over there. Yeah. You know, there's so many other sports. You know, running's a good example, and, you know, fishing's a good example of the amount of wildlife that you can come and interact with. Just learning about weather. You know, you speak to people and they don't know. You know, you take it for granted that that sort of thing where you can smell. Oh, there's rain coming, and they're like, "What do you mean you can smell there's rain coming?" It's like, well, you get that smell and that feeling in the air, but. You know, you say that to some other people and they're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
But that's been an outdoor person, but we should all be outdoor people, because that's where we come from, really, isn't it? So.
Yeah, the outside.
The outside, yes.
And then last year, obviously, in terms of a continuation of ladies' carp championships, COVID curtailed it.
Completely. We should have been hosting the World Champs in England. We should have had them at Linear. Should have been in September. We were going to have a whole festival of angling down at Linear with the World Champs going on. So yeah, that was pretty shit, because if it gets too big and we get too many teams, which yes, we want more and more, you know, different countries coming in, and there's so many countries that are working on pulling their teams together for the women's side of things. It's fantastic. But if it gets too big, we won't have the venues to host it, because we don't have those big reservoirs. You know, we don't have those big public waters. We don't have the big rivers and stuff. So, yeah, hopefully we can. We've missed 2 years now because we couldn't have it this year, just because of travel for a lot of the other countries and stuff like that. It's not fair on them, is it? So hopefully we can have it next year.
Make a showcase of it at Linear.
Yeah.
That'll be mega.
Yeah,
hopefully. Cool. Fingers crossed, touch wood and everything else. Yeah. In terms of selection for that, team picking generally, how things work. So, is there a process, or is it just people that you notice with regards to sort of the management?
So in the past, so Miranda managed the team up until 2019 after the World Champs, and then she made the decision she wanted to go back on the rods. She didn't want to manage the team. She wanted to fish.
Yeah.
You can't really do both. And her and Rob approached me and said that they'd like me to manage the team. Rob would like to take more of a back seat because he's, well, the busiest man in carp fishing, to be fair, isn't he?
Yeah.
And Miranda wanted to go back on the rod. So I accepted. Yeah, it's a tough decision not to be on the rods. And I think, that whole manager is even more pressure because you've got to pull it together and manage the team and make sure they're all doing the right thing. And if it fucking fails, you're the one in the firing line, aren't you?
Yeah. Manager, like Premier League football, they always get it, don't they?
Yeah, it's your name. You're the one that's going to get shot down. Well, you told us to do it. It didn't fucking work. So, yeah, Miranda stepped back. And I decided that, before, because then there wasn't that many women out there, but it was more sort of you put yourself forward, people came into the team, people that Miranda had noticed, but I thought, I want to have trials. Like, it's the way you get into football, it's the way you get into a lot of other sports. We have trials, people come to the trials, they show their skills, we invite them to train with the squad, they train with the squad, and then whenever there's an event, we pick the team, and that is the team that will be fielded in that event. You're not guaranteed, nobody in that squad, that training squad, is guaranteed their place. If they're not, if they've not been out fishing much and they're not up to it, or they've had a bad time of recent and I don't think their head's in the game, they're not the best person to put forward for that 48-hour match or that 72-hour match. And I think that's the way it should be done with any sort of team. You can't just guarantee, footballers aren't guaranteed their spot in a team every time. They're not going to, I don't know if they play Saturdays or Sundays or whatever. But they're not guaranteed that, they're going to play every Saturday, are they?
No.
And it also, it's, if people out there know that that's how the process works, they know that if they can meet the criteria that we require to become part of the training squad, then they've got the chance of fishing for England.
Give me the carpy criteria. What have we got?
Carpy criteria. Well, it's not very carpy, but we essentially need you to be able to be accurate at 100 yards because, you think of any competition waters, especially outside of the UK, you're going to be fishing 100 yards minimum. Don't get me wrong, there's times where you will be fishing in close, but you need to be easily hitting 100 yards. And you need to be able to do it with a throwing stick as well, because under FIPS rules, you can't spod during the hours of 8 and 8. And the only way of getting a bait out really is if it's not a catapult, it's a throwing stick. So if you can't throwing stick to your spot that you're fishing at, well, you're getting bait out there throughout the night. So yeah, the initial criteria is yes, once you're training with the squad, we'll start looking at your actual rigs and fishing skills, but all that's quite easily teachable. And sometimes certain venues it's just going to be a certain rig.
Yeah.
If when the lads fished the Worlds on the Ebro, they're not using the blowback 360 version 2 fandangled rig with a million bits on, are they?
No.
They're just using a basic rig.
Yeah.
So all that's teachable, but you need to be accurate and consistently hitting those big distances.
Yards.
Yeah. And a lot of that comes down to technique, and it can be taught, and it's to do with line and the correct rods and reels. But you need to be coming to the trials with that, and that is how you're going to get into the squad and start training with the squad and go forward. So yeah, we've just had some trials recently and picked up a few more to go through.
Nice.
Start training, yeah.
It seems to be really big. I mean, we're going to talk about Ladies Carp Academy now, but it seems to be a real sort of growing, like with every other sport area of the industry. There's a lot more presence, a lot more social media presence, a lot more socials being organised between other ladies anglers, a lot more awareness out there, which is absolutely brilliant.
If you think where we've come in 10 years, it's massive. If you think where we've come in 5 years, it's huge, the percentage of, and not just people going with their partners, actually young, 20-year-old girls getting into the sport off their own back and going on their own. That's a whole new demographic that we're hitting.
Yeah.
I found when I was doing the Ladies Carp Academy at first, a lot of it was maybe older people, the kids had grown up, they'd remembered going fishing with the dad, and they were looking for, something, sort of an activity or a sport that they could do, and they'd gravitated back to it because they had happy memories from going. Whereas now you're getting younger people that are coming into it through choice, And that's got to be because they're seeing it on social media and it hopefully looks kind of cool.
Yeah.
I don't know whether cool is the right word, but there's something that's pulling them in, and it can only be that there's a number of females already doing it and they think, oh, I'll have a go at that. That looks nice. I like the outdoors. Again, they might have, remembered going fishing when they was really young. And yeah, it's there. There's that presence. It's, there's women abroad, there's loads of, young people and people of, women of all ages going out there fishing. And the fact that they're showcasing it on social media, it's all beneficial to getting more and more people. It's just a cannonball effect, isn't it?
Yeah.
The more people that do it, the more people that see it, there's more people that talk to. Chances are they'll see other women on the lake. They don't feel so excluded. A massive thing that I've noticed change is more and more and more venues now have got female toilets, clean female toilets.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember when I first started going, a female toilet? They didn't exist. I mean, toilets didn't really exist on a lot of lakes, did they? It was, so if you weren't comfortable, going in the bushes and pooing in a bag or digging a hole or whatever you want to do, you didn't go.
No,
and it was a lot of the times women would say, oh, what do you do about this? What do you do about that? And I know that those venues that have got the female facilities, they attract a lot of women anglers, which makes sense, doesn't it?
Of course it does.
People just...
You're catering for them.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just all things like that, it's just helping more and more women feel comfortable on the bank. A lot of women don't feel safe doing overnighters, and the fact that they can be locked in a venue that has got good security, has got somebody on there all night, cameras and things like that. I forget because I've never been bothered by things like that. But when I spend more and more time with the ladies at the Ladies Carp Academy, they'll speak about these things, and I think, that is why we're helping, getting more and more women in, because a lot of these venues are becoming really, really safe, and there's more of these venues with on-site facilities, cafes, and the out-and-out old school boys, detest them, don't they? But they're not catering for them.
No.
They're not catering for Mr. Keep It Real. Just there's waters for you. Like, there's waters for everybody. And these great ones with facilities make a really nice environment for, women to go fishing and newcomers into the sport and kids. It's a bit tough taking your kids fishing for the day if you haven't got somewhere where you can wash them down when they fall in.
Yeah, that is true. But also, I think because you've got that network of women who are fishing, there's also that social aspect built into it, isn't there?
Yeah.
Like if you're a relative newcomer and you've got two ladies who've been fishing to a venue and they know there's amenities and you go with them, that's a much nicer introduction than going, I'm going to go and start my first night on my own at a club war and I don't know anyone.
Yeah.
Because that's intimidating regardless.
Oh, yeah. And, clubs can be right funny places, can't they? Especially with the old boys. What are you doing here? You need me to show you how to cat? This is a great story.
I bet you've had a bit of that.
This is a great story. So Ellen, who I've mentioned, she's our big caster. And, she can chuck 130. She can chuck further than that, but she's comfortable at fishing like 120 plus. And she'd gone to, this was in lockdown, she'd gone to a little local lake near her. She'd just gone for the day, and some old boy comes toddling up to her, and she it was like, I can show you how to cast to the middle if you want. She said it was about 16 wraps to the middle. She's like, yeah, I'm okay, thanks. Like,
but you must get like, can I carry your kit? And all this sort of stuff.
Yeah. They look at you pushing the barrow and they think, are you all right, love? Mate, I could probably, probably deadlift more than you.
Oh, it's awkward, isn't it?
You're all right, sunshine. It's fine. If I need help, I'll ask. I'm not afraid to ask for help when I need it. Which is all, it's very well and nice. But I think a lot of the women have said that when they get that, do you want me to carry this? Do you want me to do that? Do you want me to do this for you? It's a bit undermining. They wouldn't have come if they needed help.
Yeah.
If they'd needed help, they'd have brought, they'd have gone with a friend to make sure that they can get it done. You're not just going to rock up to a lake and think, oh, well, I hope there's some guy there that can carry me stuff to me swim. You're going to go do it on your own.
Brilliant.
There's been some all sorts of stuff over the years. I can't remember where one of them was. It was when Bundy's signed a ticket on Bundy's for a while. And he was a lovely, lovely guy. And the people that have said these things, they are genuinely trying to be helpful, and they've just not thought it through or not realised.
No.
And I'd gone down, I think it must have been midweek. And it was when he was working for Embryo and they were fencing the lake. And I'd gone up, pulled it, opened the gate, driven through, and he'd come round and he'd obviously been fencing round the back. And he'd come to the gate and he sort of looked at me. It's like, and I thought, I didn't realise what he was doing, so I thought, oh, well, is he trespassing? It's like, are you all right? And he went, are you fishing? No, I'm here riding my quad bike. I was like, yeah. I've never seen a woman going fishing.
Is that what he said?
Ta-da!
Hello.
So you have, this brief chat about, women going fishing, things like that. He just completely bamboozled him, just confused the life out of him. Just asking bizarre questions. Well, are you okay? Do you need me to help you with anything? Are you going to be okay? I'm going to be fine. I've got my big boy pants on.
I think sometimes it comes from a genuine place, though, doesn't it?
It does, doesn't it? Yeah.
I get that. Then there's that side of you where you sort of cringe and you think, I don't really think I should be asking that. But then you feel chivalrous wise. Yeah. You're in that grey areas of
it's like,
you got to think,
what do I do? What is the right thing to do right now?
She looks absolutely fine, but I'm very rude if I don't offer. But I don't know what to do. So, yeah, you just sort of go, oh, there's one over there.
Must go, got a job to do.
No, I understand, from a bloke's perspective, I get that sometimes he's genuine, but from what I was sort of surprised at, but also quite humorously look back at, is just the various sort of first time altercations between women that are very good anglers that go on, and you get people go over going, oh yeah, you might want it, and they've caught 7. And you're like, you probably want to leave it,
somebody rocking up to Raisbury and trying to tell Jo so maybe you should try fishing over there, Jo. She's like, yeah, and what have you caught from here?
You're getting smashed.
Yeah.
Go back. It's funny. One thing that I won't name names, but one thing I've talked about, sort of definitely with various ladies who angle, both young and sort of experienced, with regards to Angling Trust ambassador role and just generally talking about fishing, is social media. And what I would say is probably the dark side, if you like, of carp fishing from a woman's perspective, which I don't want to dwell on, but I think it's important to draw attention to, is I was genuinely shocked about the messages, the various sort of offers, nature, and just general DMs that are sent through to female anglers. And the only way I think about it is my daughters hopefully will angle, if I've not completely put them off in the ensuing years. But for them to receive those sort of messages and potentially me not know about it because it's a DM on social media is genuinely frightening, and it makes me angry that people would do it. For you, that whole side of things, I know that it's very much of the standpoint of a lot of ladies that I've talked to, they don't talk about it. It just sort of it happens and they blot it aside and carry on.
Yeah.
But it's got to
it is what would you do? How do you stop it? And I'm under no illusion it goes on in other industries as well. I've looked inside other industries to see, what goes on in terms of, it's not just that, it's the comments that will go on pictures and still that old thing, what right she got to be on the bank, and then it's the inappropriate DMs because, they slide into the DMs because they want something. Do you really think that's going to work? Maybe it does. Maybe I'm just a bit old hat, but it's not really going to. This is a classic.
It's going to be a belter.
You've not got this. I do try and keep you up to date with some of them.
You normally give me a good feed as to what's going on. It's a good laugh.
It was only a few days ago. Woke up in the morning, Instagram message. I feel like I should pull it up just to read the exact wording because it was quite classic. Wow, you're a sort, or you are a sort. Just my kind of girl, and you go fishing as well. Fancy giving me your Snapchat?
Bold. Bold.
from a 20-year-old.
20-old, no grammar in there.
No, very little grammar.
Very little grammar.
Straight jumps to his profile. Well, thanks. It's nice to know that, some 20-year-olds looking at somebody that's
I've made it.
potentially old enough to be his mum and thinking, wow, you sort.
Right.
I'm so unfortunate.
I mean, I don't know how you react to that. How you plot
I
that
don't have
out.
Snapchat, so.
Oh, yeah. Don't have Snapchat, mate. You're a
Don't have
loose
Snapchat.
end there. No Snapchat.
No Snapchat. I'm just ignorance is bliss, isn't it? Like,
I don't know how you react. What I think from my perspective is that there is that whole sexualization of women, and that the DM facility is there, and some people abuse it. A lot of blokes don't. I'm not saying that every bloke's doing that, but I'm saying that there is a facet, if you like, where those type of messages go through. But I being objectified in an industry which is male dominated is difficult. It's difficult to deal with. It also brings into question, if I'm putting myself in my daughter's shoes, if you're out fishing and you're receiving messages from blokes, is someone going to rock up at a day ticket venue that has messaged you? Or that's not.
And I guess that is the risk of it. And, I've been in situations before where, especially drunk blokes, when people have had to remove them from, because essentially it's been a bit much, and it's, I won't go into it because I don't think they're nice stories to tell, but
no.
It's been downright inappropriate, and if it hadn't have been in my industry, I'd have probably clocked them.
Yeah.
But that would have not been a cool story to go around Bev Clifford's first punch at so because he trying it on with her and, work back off.
That's also not an acceptable thing for you to say because you're in this industry. You wouldn't have punched them. You know what I mean? It's not though, is it?
No, because, if it had happened to me in town, you'd have swift elbowed them or, told them to fucking F off. Or, the situation might have been handled differently. But because when you're in the industry and it's your, potentially going to damage your name, it has to be dealt with a bit different. Which, again, isn't cool. You should just be able to say, fuck off.
Yeah, it's difficult. I think it's a very difficult area.
It's difficult because you don't want to put people off, women coming into fishing. And that's why, where I looked outside of the industry and did a bit of digging. And yeah, it goes on everywhere.
Yeah.
And I think it's just, we need to realise that, sliding into people's DMs with really inappropriate messages doesn't do anything apart from make you look like a fucking weirdo.
Yeah, but it's not even, it's not even, and some male anglers will get the same thing with regards to just blatant sort of abuse. Like it's not necessarily always on a sexual level, but it's just straight to the person.
Some people get absolutely hammered. And especially when you see, somebody that's caught a fish and people that don't even know them go in on them for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And sometimes, about false information that some other dickheads put on there saying, oh, he caught it out of bounds, or he did this, or he did that, or, it won't quite legitimate, or he caught it on this bit, and, just leave them alone.
Crack on.
Worry about you. Have you not got your, go cook your tea. Take your missus out for something to eat. Step away from the keyboard.
It's an interesting one. For you, if you're a lady angler out there, definitely get involved. There's a good community. It's growing. Any issues, thoughts, trepidation around angling? How would you go about dealing with that, talking through it? Where would you go?
I mean, I would say if anybody's having trouble with anything like that, drop me a message and, I'll, give you some advice. I mean, if it's somebody you know or if it's somebody you don't know, nothing worse than calling them out. I mean, half the time they've got a bleeding missus. Well, she might appreciate the screenshot of, what they're sending out. Nothing like dropping them straight in the shit, is there, as a bit of payback. Do you know your husband is sending messages like this? Well, there you go. He's going to leave you alone then, isn't he?
Yeah. I'm not that I'm trying to paint a horrible picture of blokes, but I know that it's an area that I've definitely talked to some people about and been quite shocked myself at.
Yeah.
Not at the DMs and contact people and talking to people, because that's absolutely fine, but some of it's overly...
Yeah. I mean, and the worst thing you can do is reply, just, because it's just essentially, going to lead to more messages. So...
And what about generally women wanting to enter the sport? We're talking about the Ladies Carp Academy that you set up.
Yeah,
a great entrance point.
And young Lauren, she is doing stuff down at Embryo.
Yeah, Lauren Stanford.
Yeah, female-only tuitions. There's loads of sort of women out there. Some angling clubs have got really good. The local angling club to me that my dad's involved with is president of Holland District Anglers Association.
Yeah.
They have got their own little women's subgroup, carp group now. I mean, that's another breakthrough.
Yeah.
Clubs having their own little women's section that are, you know, for carp. I think that's cool. Yeah, they meet up. You know, it's the, is it get fishing, go fishing? What's the angling?
Get into fishing.
Get into fishing.
Yeah.
They always have like great taste of things throughout the summer, don't they?
Yep.
So yeah, just, I mean, message people on social media. If you find a female on social media that, you know, that's got a few thousand followers, chances are she's passionate about, you know, getting more people into the sport. And yeah, just, you know, drop them a message, drop them a polite DM, you know, don't ask them for, you know, half naked pictures with their boobs out or anything.
Steady Clifford.
Nice polite DM saying, you know,
Yeah, how do I get
advice?
involved? I'd like to go.
Yeah, I'm from so and so. Do you know anybody in that area? You know, look for somebody in your area.
Yeah.
You know, and chances I can probably meet up. You know, there's the Ladies Carp Academy events that go on.
Those have been mega, haven't they?
Yeah, it's.
I remember the first one you did.
So rewarding.
Yeah.
So rewarding. I can't think of. Somebody asked me a question a while back, and it took me ages to think of the answer. So it was one of those, you know, when people ask you like deep, meaningful questions, and they're like, "What's the thing in your life that you're most proud of?" You know,
That's deep.
Yeah, and it was like,
scratch that off.
Yeah. And it was like, you know, most people when you ask them, they'll be like, "Oh, my kids," and it was like, even if you have kids, you can't say that's a cop out. I was like, well, yeah, it's a bit of a cop out answer, isn't it? I thought about it for weeks. I spent hours and hours thinking of, you know, what is it? You know, is it anything to do with the business? Is it anything to do with, you know, things I've overcome? Is it anything? And then it was actually when I was at the Berners Hall social. Me and Lauren organised the social at Berners Hall, and I was walking around on the night, and I just sort of gone to do a lap of the lake and just gone to see everybody before it got dark. And I just remember like walking back and just seeing like, you know, these happy, smiley women, and I just thought, do you know what? That's what I'm most proud of, that I've been part of creating something so special as getting more women into carp fishing.
Yeah.
And seeing just a bank full of women enjoying what 5 years ago wouldn't have even existed. You know, it would have just been a bank full of guys and one random woman that everybody had been like, "Oh, there's a woman over there fishing." Like, and now we've actually, you know, we're taking over venues and having our own women's socials. And I thought, do you know what? That is actually probably what I'm most proud of, is, you know, getting that to happen. And now it's big enough that it's spiraling on its own. You know, that's
it's big.
It's cool.
And those events, like
moment.
you had one at Poolbridge Farm, didn't you?
Yeah, so they're like the
around
academy weekends where they come for the weekend and they get tuition. You know, draw on. I'm lucky to have, you know, some of the best connections in angling, I guess. Really, you know, this year we had Burnsy, Scott Lloyd, one of my best mates, Al, who's mega. He's done so much for the women's side of things. Ben Wales, and who else did we have? Mike Bridges.
Good boy.
You know, what a group of lads but, you know, and some people, you know, look and think, oh, well, not the best anglers out there. To me, they are the best anglers because they're giving their time to give back to their sport. And that is
100%.
That's the definition of, you know, a bloody good angler to me.
We've said this many times. It's bigger. The sport is bigger than what swivel you use, what bait you use, what hoodie you wear.
Yeah.
Isn't it? You've got I think everyone's got a responsibility to drive angling forward wherever you can drive it forward, whether that be women, whether that be mental health. I was part of a little research thing yesterday. Like,
just give a bit of your time back, whatever you're into. Like, you've got to think you've taken so much enjoyment from that sport. And especially for me, it's been like this industry, carp fishing, has paid for everything I've got. You know, my house, my car, like the clothes that I'm wearing, everything's come from fishing. That's where I've, you know, earned my income, made a living. So to give something back, it's a natural thing to do. And also, you know, I think that you should give back. I think it's a good thing to do. And if you're a person that's taking a lot from a sport, enjoyment, and, you know, a lot of these guys, you know, they've got sponsorships, you know, they're getting a lot for gear, they're getting fish, you know, fish nice waters, just give a little something back and, you know, the carp gods will probably pay you back, hopefully.
That's the tagline. I'll catch a few more.
We'll catch a few more.
They're really good events. They're well organised, and I know that every lady that sort of goes away from there tends to, which is testament to it, tends to have not only a network of people and information to draw from which they've learned, but they also have the continuation to go out and fish themselves.
And for them as well, like they're coming and they're getting to meet, you know, Scott You know, what a character, carp fishing. You know, he is a character. And, you know, Burnsy, Mike, Al, they're all absolute sound lads that when those girls go away, they know they can message them and be like, do you remember that rig you were showing me? Can you just help me with this? And they will message them back, you know, and they will help them. And for them to have that, you know, almost like, you know, like a mentor, I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
They've got, you know, somebody that they know they can ask about stuff. And I think, you know, that's also a massive benefit to anybody in the sport that, you know, they've got somebody, you know, caliber of, you know, I've been lucky. I've had Crowe, Hughesy, you know, people like that I've been able to call on and, you know, mentor you and, you know, keep your head in check so you don't get, you know, because there's so much information out there.
Oh.
You know, there's so much gear. Like it frightens me how much stuff there is. It's like, imagine coming into it, not knowing anybody, not knowing anything, and being like, what do I need? What the fuck do you need? Because there's too much fucking
a lot.
Stuff. But you essentially don't.
You don't need anything, but you will buy a lot.
But you will buy a lot because you'll just walk into a tackle shop and you'll just be like,
one of everything.
Yeah, one of everything. It's like,
yeah. No, I know it's confusing as much as like you can just see the sheer amount of content. I think I learnt majority of my fishing through like the Art of Fishing encyclopedia.
Yeah.
Like, it was this thick every month. Do you know, there's not a lot of information in there. I could just about get it in here. That was enough.
Yeah.
But nowadays, YouTube, social media, it's a lot.
And how do you know who's good, average, and shouldn't really have that content on there because that's not very safe.
Yeah.
You don't, do you? You know, unless you've been doing it a while. And for me, so you've only got to look at people like Crowe. You know, he's got the most basic rigs going, but catches more carp than anybody.
Yeah.
Arguably.
Yeah.
You know, don't overcomplicate it. And that's another thing we try to instill into them when they come to the Ladies Carp Academy things is essentially less is more.
Yeah.
Like, just learn a few rigs, learn them well, have confidence in them. You know, make sure that, you know, checking things like your hooks, you know, making sure that you're putting them in the right place, watercraft, like before you get worried about having the latest bivvy and the latest this and the latest that, and, you know, changing, you know, swapping your reels every 5 minutes because there's a new model come out. It's like, you know, get up and watch the water.
Yeah.
You know,
the important stuff.
The important stuff, yeah. It's quite interesting to see, actually, is you'll get a number of ladies that will come and they've maybe done a lot of fishing with the fellas. And sometimes you know, they'll be fishing with a certain rig or they'll be fishing with something. You know, the guys will ask them questions. They'll be like, so why are you doing like that? Oh, my fella told me. Right, well, unfortunately, you're going to have to tell him that's fucking shit and it's wrong. So you can just imagine when they go home and they're like, yeah, do you know that sense? Well, it's wrong. What? Well, it's wrong. You know,
it's gone down well, hasn't it?
Yeah, Chris Holmes has told me it's wrong and it's shit.
I've actually caught some more fish this season though, so probably listen to your missus more. Yeah, it's classic. In terms of your plans for those, more of them, grow them. What's the vision?
Yeah, so we've got so we've always done the North Academy weekend, which is a tuition weekend. Before COVID hit, they kindly let me have one booked on Raisbury. That didn't happen because COVID hit. It's doing it on the South Lake. Whether they'll let me back, maybe you can put a good word with me. I've got one organised in the West at Bart's Place.
Oh, yeah, Acorn.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Cool. I think we're going to try and get Bart's sister Zoe to do sort of a ladies match thing on the other lake at the same time,
got the
same weekend.
Back, yeah.
That'd be cool. So then we'd like to try and get one in the West as well, and then got North, South, East, West for the year, and then just got some socials in. It's quite nice as people get in touch with like nice venues and say, you know, we'll offer you at half price or we'll give you it for free, which means you can offer it at discount and free for people. And then just organise the socials, because then it means some people have been through a few academy weekends, so they don't really want to go, over it, or they don't feel, they need that, or they don't want it, or, they've been to that venue before or whatever, but they can come on the social, meet new women, fish a new venue, it's all nice and friendly, we have a barbecue, and then what we often find is they'll make friends and then they'll go off fishing on their own, and it's nice to see those friendships form, and then, they've got a bit of a duo, they've got an alliance, they've got somebody that can go fishing with them.
Yeah. They're spot on. I hope
Yeah.
that model gets off. Well, it will get off the ground because you won't stop until it does.
Well, Lauren's
do you know what I
been
mean?
starting to organise some as well, which is great. So
Yeah, brilliant.
the more that can go on, the more they can get to meet up. And I think where's Lauren doing one next month? Lavender Hall Fisheries.
Oh yeah,
So yeah,
nice. And information on all that for any ladies, all social media generally, isn't it?
yeah. Mine just goes out on social media, Ladies Carp Academy pages and my pages. They sell out pretty fast, which is a good thing, which is nice, because it shows how strong the need is and the want is for it. But it's also, you feel bad because there's so many people that are like, oh, I wish I could have made it, and it's like, how do you best do it? You can't be like, oh, well, you've been on so many this year, so you've got to let somebody else on. It's just, I put it out there and it's first come, first served.
Yeah, that's brilliant work.
I think Lauren puts hers on her social media as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, just
Good
keep
stuff.
an eye out.
Talk to me about where angling or carp angling needs development with regards to ladies.
It'd be nice to see a bit more dedicated female clothing that's actually practical. It isn't just a green t-shirt with a pink logo on it. That's a bit shit, innit? I think we're a bit past that.
That's my idea's gone. Sorry, Alan.
Nash, don't do it.
Green, pink. Go on. What about pink and green?
No.
No. So, yeah, definitely more fashion, right?
Definitely a bit more clothing. Just, it makes you feel included. I think it would make them feel included.
Yeah.
It never bothered me, but I know from feedback it would be. Do you know what? This is one of my bugbears. Do you know the handles? Do you know like when you get your rod bag on your shoulder? Just, you need to be able to make it a little bit shorter because we're not that fucking tall. So it scrapes along the floor.
I've been to that dark place. I'm quite sure. Hello, darkness, my old friend.
It always used to really annoy me because you'd put your rod bag or your bivvy on your shoulder and they're just too low. You can't shorten them enough for being a short ass. I mean,
Just
and
get some scopes.
there is some 5 foot male anglers out there as well. So they must. I'm not going to shout anybody out, but
5'6", I'll have you know. So, functional sort of luggage.
Just we don't need to change anything about the luggage.
Shorten
Just
the straps.
When the straps, just being able to make them a little bit shorter.
Okay.
So that would be, great.
This is good.
Yeah.
Keep going.
And I think generally just companies so there was. Do you know what? I don't think Cord will mind me speaking about it the way I'll deliver it because it will be my honest opinion. And Danny recently took some pictures of the new clothing while he was in Ibiza.
Right.
And it was a guy and a girl. And I saw loads of women and guys, and I've had people message me saying, what do you think of this? As if it was objectifying the woman that was in it, or it was a bit seedy. And they weren't seedy images. They were nice images. They were classy. There was nothing wrong with them. My disappointment with them was it was to market the new clothing, and rather than, and yeah, those pictures still could have been out there because it was just 2 people that were angling related wearing the clothing Ibiza. That's fine. What my little sort of maybe bugbear was that you want to market that new clothing to women as well. You've got 2 very credible female anglers on the Corda team, which is Katie and Lauren, and you've been out and done a photo shoot with Spooner and Dovey. Why not get one of them along to put the female aspect in on that image as well? So that when you're doing your marketing, which includes your anglers, you've got that female presence. I just think things like that could be a little bit more thought through. They're 2 very credible female anglers. They're not been brought in because they're, yes, they're both very attractive, young females, but they're not.
But primarily they're good
totty. They've got the angle on their own. They've got, very credible, reputation. So companies utilising those females that maybe initially they'd got on because they want a female angler on board, they want to get the extra likes on social media. Let's not be naive about it. That does exist and it still always will exist, and utilising men with happy smiley faces is always going to get better engagement than some wrinkly old bloke with half his teeth missing. That's just the way marketing works. But make sure that when you're putting content together in your marketing, next year's bloody 2020 drop, that those females can feature in that marketing as well as a credible angler, not just an afterthought to be like, oh, let's stick a happy, pretty, smiley female in, start implementing that female presence
From
as
that
standard practice.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the next step in progression should be. And I think that will help solidify women in the sport, help maybe stop guys seeing them as just somebody where they can drop them inappropriate DMs as well. You know, that they're not, you know, just a pretty smiley face, that actually, you know, they're an angler within their own right.
Yeah.
And they deserve that respect because they've been respected in the right way and utilised in the right way by companies. Yeah, that's my honest opinion in how I think it, you know, the next few steps should be.
A lot of change. A lot of change is going on. It's good. You're always going to have those issues and problems to overcome, aren't you? But it's good.
Yeah.
Kumu.
Yes.
Day to day now. Kumu. Is it basically your contacts of Kumu going out and sort of
getting into the
shops?
tackle shops? Yeah. So anybody that knows Kumu, it started off as On the Beaten Track.
Yeah.
Steve is the guy behind it that started it. And it was like super cool. He came up with the death rig design.
Yeah.
And I think one of the lads in the office at the time at Carp Talk noticed it. And was like, God, have you seen this? And it's cool, you know, if you're thinking.
He's so talented, isn't he?
So talented. And just started helping him through the mag, you know, getting stuff in the mag for him, and formed a friendship. And then they went through the change to change it to Kumu. And I'd sort of worn the stuff since the off. You know, I think I'm probably that loser that's got every single mug.
You love a mug.
I love a mug. Don't drink out of them. It's too precious.
Really? Like collectibles?
Well, they are actually on a shelf. They're not collectibles, but they're on a shelf because they're cool. And I love Steve. He's great. And then when I'd finished doing the stuff with the mag and we shut up, the guys had said, you know, I'd really like you to work with us. Would you be interested in some part-time work getting Kumu into the tackle shops? So it's just slowly but surely, you know, working on getting Kumu into the tackle shops. Don't want to blanket it everywhere, but, you know, want a nice presence in good shops, and take it to that next step, you know. And so, yeah, if anybody's in a tackle shop that wants to.
Good appeal.
Yeah.
What about the future, Clifford? Talk to me.
Various things. I'd like to spend some time doing some things outside of angling as well, just to develop skills outside of angling.
Like what?
Might have some fingers in pies and some ideas and stuff working on in the background.
Pies?
And pies.
Bake off?
Bake off, wait.
Oh.
No, it's not challenging enough for me.
Is it not? Yeah, you two are probably quite good at baking, aren't you?
Bit too heavy-handed for baking.
It just looks hard work, doesn't it?
Yeah, I love baking. I love cooking. Love food, love baking, love cooking. But it's the intricacy of it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm more of a brute force and ignorance. Like, if it's not working, if you don't smash it and kick it, and
Pour gravy on it.
yeah, you can't do that with your cake, can you?
Yeah, no, it's a bit more delicate, isn't it?
Broken.
So not baking, but fingers in pies.
And I want to dedicate more time to the Ladies Carp Academy, which is, you know, time consuming. So
You've smashed it. Like I say, pioneer all the time, but you really have. You've taken women's carp fishing, and I'm not saying you've done it single handedly because there's a lot of people involved along the way. Shout out to all the ladies who've been mentioned and not been mentioned. Maybe
there's a lot of people behind the scenes.
But you have. You've brought the sport forward in terms of ladies, and you're continuing to do so. So shout out to all the ladies out there. I hope to see a lot more of you on the bank. I'm sure it will over periods of time, and I'll have to get involved in the Ladies Carp Camp Academy. Get down. Definitely.
Massive shout out to all the guys that have, you know, there wasn't enough women, and there still isn't enough women to, you know, rely on to help with these events. And you know, there's still always guys that nothing beats dragging a guy in to do a barbecue, is there? You know, men do excel in barbecuing because they're not very good in cooking, and normally are they?
Scott Lloyd's got loads of food.
Exactly. So, we've joined up
You
with
never
Scott
need
Lloyd.
to worry about food.
Yeah, well, we've got, you know, Ladies Carp Academy is now using Think Food for all their barbecue requirements.
Endorsed.
He's had some right shout outs on this, hasn't he?
He smashed this. I should be on commission, shouldn't I?
But I'm expecting a free delivery.
I'm going to Raisbury next week. If
you don't have free waffles, Scott.
Lloyd. I'm going to get on to him straight after this.
We need a kickback code.
Yeah, I know. Co-op as well. We've gone food heavy here.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, I do love food.
And the mince pies. No, but you have.
So yeah, massive shout out to all the guys that have helped over the years, and they know who they are and that continue to help. Them giving their time, I so appreciate, so grateful. There's no words that, could ever say how grateful I am for the time and effort that they put in as well.
You've done a lot. You need a big pat on the back, because I know you don't look back and you don't like to sort of sing your praises, but if you look back at Team England stuff, all that, ladies, you've smashed it, Clifford. So very, very well done, and thank you again for coming in. But before you go, quick fire questions. Okay. I think these are quite kind.
Okay.
Ready?
Ready. Born ready.
Win a gold, the Women's World Cup, or finish first in some crazy ultra marathon. Which one do you take?
Got to be representing your country, winning a gold medal.
Okay, good save. 3 women throughout history you'd love to take fishing.
3 women throughout history. I would take... Do you know what? I'd take my best friend Jill, because I've never actually taken her fishing.
She's never taken your best mate fishing?
No, but she's done deliveries to the lake of food and wine for me. She came to one of my Ladies Carp Academy events this year, but I've never actually taken her fishing, which is pretty bad, really, isn't it? So I would take her fishing. I don't know if she'd be down for holding a slimy fish, as she calls them. But yes, I'd take my best friend Jill. She's seen me through thick and thin. I would take... There'd probably have to be some Sally Gunnell. We mentioned her earlier.
Sally Gunnell.
Which I know she's been fishing though, because she did the big fish off, didn't she?
Yeah, she did.
I'd take a carp fishing.
Yeah.
Take it. Yeah.
Sally Gunnell.
Yeah, my
Sally
best friend
Gunnell
Jill.
and Jill.
Who else would we take?
This is good. I like you thinking.
I know, you can see the cogs turning, can't they? There's not much oil in there. Northern bird thinking, dangerous.
You've got this. I've got faith in this third one and really setting it off. What a social. Sally Gunnell, Jill.
It would have to be somebody quite wild, just to mix it up a bit.
Wild.
Kate Moss back in her partying days.
Jeez.
That's the right mix, isn't it?
I think there's going to be a venue out there letting you lot on. Yeah, that would be an interesting one. Good answer. Drum and bass or country and western?
Drum and bass every day. There's 2 music genres that I don't like. One is classical and one is country and western.
Really?
Yeah. I don't mind a little bit of drum and bass here and there.
Yeah, you can see it. Worst thing about carp fishing?
Worst thing about carp fishing? The bitchiness that you see, and the people digging each other out for no apparent reason. It's just not cool, is it? Just
no.
Go outside.
Cricket.
Yeah, it's not cricket.
Best thing about carp fishing?
Best thing about carp fishing? I mean, you could be really naff and say catching a carp, but that is really naff, isn't it? Because that's obvious. The friendships that I've made.
Yeah.
Lifelong friendships. And the quality of some of the people, the salt of the earth people, there's no pretentiousness really in carp fishing. There's no, social class etiquette and all that bollocks that you get in other sports, where I've got a better job than you and my car's better than yours. There's none of that in carp fishing. It's just, people see people for how they are and for whether they're good people or not, which I think is how the world should be.
Nice. Strangest rumour you've heard about yourself?
God, there's been all sorts over the years. It's not a rumour, but
it's a fact.
It's a funny story. So it was when I'd been fishing the World Catfish Classic with my mate Jace, and then we ended up coming 4th, and there was all the big parade and everything at the end, and gala or whatever they want to call it. And one of the guys came up to mate Jace and he went, "Fair play, mate, well fished, and fishing with your wife as well." Jace turned around and he went, "Wife? She's not even my girlfriend. I don't know anybody that'd put up with her."
Good from him. Yeah. Very good from him. Fair play.
Yeah, the assumption that a lot of people think just because you're fishing with somebody that's a guy that you're together.
Yeah.
It's
great fun.
Yeah.
Carp you wish you caught?
The Black Mirror, if anybody's...
It's the one, isn't it?
Yes. Can't argue with that, can you?
No, you can't.
You need to go Specsavers otherwise.
Yeah. One angler to catch a fish to save your life, who would it be?
Got to be Bart.
Mark Bartlett?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a machine.
Yeah, frighteningly good. Been sat with him and Kev a few times when they've been fishing the BCSE and other matches. just frightening. They make it look easy. Like they don't even look like they're trying.
He's not. He said. I spent a week with him filming a TV show. He's like, just go for a barbecue, mate.
Yeah,
cranking a few carp.
Yeah,
it's just that easy, Mark. Yeah. Just that easy. Lovely lad. Good pick. Favourite bankside meal?
Fajitas.
Straight
fajitas.
No. Chicken, prawn, vegetable.
Or chicken fajitas. Spicy the better.
Chicken fajitas, guacamole, the whole trimmings.
The whole trimmings.
Right, nachos.
Yeah.
No, not with them.
Well, yeah, don't get me wrong, but they're not.
So I'm just going from your northern roots. You need double carbs on everything, don't you? That's the way to do it.
Better. Yeah.
Get it in. It's going to be cold this winter. Not last question. Night in with a fella or night out, fell running, or night out on the bank. You've got 3 choices.
Could you go?
This is going to be very niche. Night in with a fella, night out fell running, or night on the bank, and you're going to try and hybridise all 3 of them.
Yeah.
How are you going to do that?
I'm thinking you could, and then to be fair, so if it was one last thing, it would probably be dragging the fella up the top of a mountain. Just because it's a little bit more risky. I am an adrenaline junkie.
Yeah.
I like that fear thing. You don't really get that in carp fishing, do you?
Don't know.
Depends what you're fishing or with.
When it rains, I get the fear this hair's going to flop. That's a big fear.
But you can get that going up mountains and,
So you'd grab an unassuming fella and run him at the top of the mountain. That's fair, all right.
Yeah. Get up there. Come on, let's go.
Bear Grylls at a loose end. Nice. Bev, you're an absolute legend. Thank you so much for coming in and doing this. You're a star. I'm sure the guys and girls out there enjoyed it. Loads of positive messages about women's angling if you want to get involved. Loads of positive messages about angling overall. It's been a brilliant podcast and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Take care, and I will no doubt see you soon, and we'll see you all soon for another Nash Off the Hook podcast. Cheers, Bev.
Thank you.